Welcome everybody back into Nerd Sesh. As always, I'm Carson Brever, and alongside me is Logan Camden, and we're going to talk some football today. We are back. We did not do a show on Friday because, as I imagine many of you guys have seen, my mom passed away Friday morning. So I would like to say some words about her at the end of the show, but off the top, I just wanted to acknowledge that and say how grateful I am to all of you guys for all of the love and all of the kindness that you have sent my way. It really means the world, and I can't thank you enough for all of that. So let's talk some football, Logan. We had kind of a stinker of a Sunday night game. We're not going to talk there, but we did have a game of the day. We had some crazy finishes today, but to me, the best of the best was a marquee matchup in the NFC, the Eagles versus the Rams. It ends with Jordan Davis in the end zone and an Eagles comeback victory. What did you take away, Logan, from seeing Philly win in that way against that kind of opponent?
Look, I'm a D1 Eagles hater, Carson. I do not like watching the Philadelphia Eagles play football for the most part. It's a lot of grind it down, nasty, tush-push-ass football, but I got to give them credit, man. This is a complete game from the Eagles and a really resilient Philadelphia victory against what I consider to be one of the most formidable opponents in all of the NFC. I consider the Rams to be bona fide Super Bowl contenders, and it was super impressive. Philly trailed 26-7 in this one and scored 20 unanswered to win. Obviously, they end up with 27 total, but the touchdown at the end doesn't really matter. I guess it counts, but they were going to win off the blocked field goal anyway. One, I don't know if I've ever seen that before. One, just in general, a field goal return for a touchdown to end the game. Two, all the block kicks today, man. Like, they must have... They sent out the notes. Here's how you blow up a bunch of kicks. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I saw that one coming. Much like when LeBron knew that Kobe was going to score 81, I felt that the theme of the week was going to be blocked kicks on blocked kicks.
Oh, you are quite clairvoyant, Carson. I understand it, man.
I'm a ball known.
I was really impressed by Philadelphia on both sides of the ball, though. First, the Philadelphia defense was super impressive, holding the Rams to 1 of 4 in the red zone, 3 of 10 on third down. And not only does the game-winning kick get blocked, there's an additional Josh Carty field goal that gets blocked prior to that. The really impressive thing to me about the Eagles had to be the passing attack today, though. Coming into this game, Dillon Gabriel, backup quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, had more passing touchdowns than starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, and Super Bowl MVP Jalen Hurts. I really thought he answered the call in this one. The reason that we're so critical about Philadelphia coming into this one is how limited their recipe for success is. It's defensive football. It's grind it out. It's run the ball. It's ball control. They went down in this one, and I was concerned of Philadelphia winning games with this specific game script. Going down large in this game, multiple scores, and needing to throw themselves back into a game. Jalen Hurts answered the call, and maybe this is just something that I need to accept with Jalen Hurts, that when the time is there, when he needs to step up to the plate, the guy is just clutch. He does have exceptional skill position talent in front of him. I thought A.J. Brown had a phenomenal game, stamped again why he is still a top 5 receiver in football. The guy's a physical freak. You just can't guard him one-on-one, man. Does some grown man shit. Whoever that corner was on the left side, man, that he stiff-armed and planted in the ground, he took his manhood, man. That's just demoralizing. But yeah, Brown goes for 6 for 109 in this one. Hurts in the second half, Carson. 18 of 24, 210 yards. This is all through the air, by the way. 3 touchdowns. The only negative play that I can get on him for is really that fumble that set the Rams up for a touchdown in the red zone. Outside of that, it was a flawless game from Hurts. So impressive stuff from the defense and the boys in the trenches, obviously Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. But the most impressive thing to me from this game was how the Eagles won this one and how Hurts and A.J. Brown threw themselves back into this game. I was skeptical of the Eagles winning a game script like this, and so against a team like the Rams, super impressive stuff. And I guess I got to stop doubting Philly, man. I've picked against them twice in the past 2 weeks, and they've answered in a big way in both games.
Yeah, we both picked the Rams to win this game, which actually looked like the cheeky, smart upset pick of the week for a while. And then Philly turned it around, and this was a wildly impressive win for them. You said a lot that I totally agree with. Like, when we criticize the Eagles, we are nitpicking them as your reigning Super Bowl champions. So you have to understand the standard that they are being held to is massively high because we know that in terms of physical dominance in the trenches, they are the best in football when you combine the two sides of the ball. We know that in terms of just overall talent up and down the roster, they are in the absolute top tier. And they were 2-0 through 2 weeks, and they had a quality win over the Chiefs on the road. And yet we still wanted to see more from that passing attack specifically. Not saying that they couldn't elevate to a higher level, because last year we saw a lot of issues with the passing attack. And then you look at the NFC title game, the Super Bowl, they were explosive. They got the level of quarterback play they needed for really a dominant Super Bowl victory. But could they rely on just flipping the switch like that again when in the first couple games of this season, the passing attack looked more limited than it had even at any point last season, when that was always the biggest concern about this team? But just bad play calling across those first couple games, an inability to get to the ball to their elite playmakers and give them opportunities to do what they do best. And then in this game in the second half, they just flipped the script in so many ways. And this is exactly the kind of game you need to win to feel great if you're the Eagles, because the run game wasn't working in this one. Well, that's normally a staple. That's normally where you're elite offensively. You fall behind big early. Well, you don't normally expect that because your defense just is going to give you such a high floor, but you go down 26-7 and you really move the football through the air. That's how you come back. And I want to give so much credit to Jalen Hurts. I thought the first half was pretty brutal for him. I thought he was really struggling to deal with pressure, and props to this Rams pass rush. It wasn't just the front four winning straight up. I mean, some creative blitzes. Couple times where just free rushers come fully at Hurts and sack him. I mean, that's where you have the fumble inside their own 10-yard line early in the third quarter. I'm going to count it as an extension of the first half because it was the first drive of the second half. And after that point, it's when Hurts really flipped the switch and he was just absolutely nails. But he had 20-something passing yards in the first half and underthrew a couple balls when they did have chances, and was a big part of the reason that they were down so big. But second half, you mentioned the numbers, just outstanding. Excellent performance from him. He was poised, he was accurate, and for the first time this season, man, we got to see these elite receivers make elite plays. AJ, you mentioned the play where he throws the DB to the ground. That's a huge 3rd and 10, and then he gets a big run after catch along with that. But he's got that tough grab up along the sideline on the first touchdown drive when they're getting the comeback going. He creates some separation on a big touchdown. Maybe he pushed off, but he got wide open for a touchdown. They didn't call a push off. And then you have the final play of the game where it's Devontae who just wins like convincingly and quickly, and boom, it's a simple pitch and catch in a huge 4th down. I mean, the stakes don't get higher than that. They made stuff happen. The elite receivers made stuff happen. Hurts really dialed in and played at a high level, controlled football, and on clutch 3rd and 4th downs, they were really good, especially down the stretch. I did also think for the Rams, their defensive level dropped in the second half. I thought that the pressure was less ferocious. I thought there were more busted coverages that the Eagles were able to take advantage of with their passing attack. But the issue for Philly through 2 games had unquestionably been the lack of passing production, the lack of explosiveness, the play calling in the passing game, not getting those star receivers involved. And it had just been ugly, tough, grinded out games on offense, calling the tush push on more than 10% of your plays. Theo called it a goal line offense that they were running for 60 minutes. This is exactly what they have to do to be able to win 4 straight playoff games. That's the standard we hold them to. It's not, can they win 11, 12 games in the regular season? We know they can do that on the back of their formula. It's okay. You play 3 straight elite football teams. Something is probably going to go wrong somewhere in that path, and you're going to have to be able to win in multiple ways. Something went wrong in this one. They won in a different way. Honestly, Logan, I would have felt better about Philly after this game, even if they had lost 29-27, even if they didn't block that field goal at the end because of what they did in the second half on offense. But shout out to Jordan Davis for what he did do to win this game. Shout out to the special teams overall, because Jalen Carter does block the other kick, but Jordan Davis, this is the play that will forever live in Eagles fans' memories, because the big man didn't just block the field goal. The big man took it all the way to the house, even though he had no reason to. He just wanted to show the world that he could. He had a couple other huge plays, though. He has the sack on Stafford, the 3rd down stop when Stafford has an angle. I mean, if the man had any speed, if he wasn't, well, dead, actually. Matt Stafford sadly has passed on, but he's also in his late 30s. Like, it's Jordan Davis who meets him there, gets the big stop. It's Jordan Davis who swallows up the running back, Kyron Williams, on the 4th and 1 stop. Like, just a huge game from him and massively clutch stuff. On the flip side for this, Logan, obviously it's disappointing for the Rams. They feel like they had this one in their hands. But nevertheless, this was a game that went right down to the wire that they clearly had a chance to win against the reigning Super Bowl champions. So what do you take away for them?
Uh, I do consider the Rams to be real deal contenders. Like, I'm encouraged that they're able to hang with the Eagles, and that is, I think, a big selling point for the Rams. The last two matchups we've seen between these two teams have basically been decided by 5 points. You know, I know this one ends up being a 7-point victory because of the Davis return, but effectively, if they don't score that right, it's 27-26, they win. They lose a playoff game by 4 points. Like, the Rams have played the Eagles as tight as anybody has in the NFL, and if there's a team right now that I'm going to pick to go toe-to-toe with them in the playoffs, it would be the Rams, and it specifically is the style of football that they play and why I think they are the best matchup for them. It's specifically that air attack with Puka and with Devontae Adams and Stafford, and really being able to attack the defensive backs for Philadelphia. Now, this is a great Philadelphia team, but I think if you had to pick out one weak spot for them, it would be the secondary with a guy like Adoree Jackson. Or, you know, they had a lot of turnover in that room from last year, right? Losing Darius Slay. And so I think that is the kind of team that poses the biggest issue for a team like Philadelphia. And it's close, right? It would be them or Green Bay. And we'll get to Green Bay later. Obviously, a demoralizing loss for them against one of the worst teams in football. But it would be one of them. It's a team that can match them in the trenches, that can get pressure with 4, and that can really decimate their secondary through the air. And for a large portion of this game, I did feel like they were going to bring it home. I think the defense is to blame in the second half, Carson, like you mentioned. You tell me if you think I'm off base here. I would put this loss on Matthew Stafford if I had to point a finger. And I know that's hard to say. Hear me out.
I will.
I do want to give him credit for this. Stafford did put his team in position to get 6 more points on the board if Cardi could convert, you know, either of those 2 field goals. So obviously there are some missed points that don't show up in the total here at the end of the day for Stafford. But the reason I say that, one, the first quarter interception to Bond sets up the Eagles for a short field and ends up in a touchdown. So I do have to hold that against him. But more importantly, I just think you have to put the ball in the end zone, and it's really that simple. This team crossed midfield and settled for 4 field goals, and they got outscored 26-7 in the second half. Obviously, this is against a contender, the reigning, defending Super Bowl champions, but you can't leave any doubt. You have to keep drives alive, and you have to put the ball in the end zone. And so when I'm holding the Eagles to this kind of Super Bowl standard, I consider the Rams to be a real deal contender, and I'm going to hold them to that standard. The other grace that I will give Stafford in this game and the Rams offense, they do have another TD taken away because of a holding penalty, which I do think is important to mention. Kyron Williams gets in the end zone. The center Shelton gets called for a holding penalty. So that is effectively with the 2 field goals and that being called back, that's 10 points that are wiped away. But Stafford specifically, I thought, missed some throws that would have put them into position to score more points. And a lot of these throws are in the first half too. But if I'm going to hold Philadelphia to the Super Bowl standard, I thought Stafford could have made some throws that would have put the nail in the coffin and really ended this game and left no doubt. So, you know, it's not all on Stafford's shoulders because they did move the ball effectively. He put them in position to win this game. But I felt like he could have done a little bit more that would have put this game to bed. So it's like, I'd go 60-40, like 40 on the defense and then 60 on Stafford. And the reason I say that is I just do hold him to...
You got to get the special teams in that blame pie, man.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, I kind of lumped that in. Also, real quick on that. Dude, why don't more teams do that? You notice how, like, the long snapper never blocks? Why don't more teams line up their 2 nastiest nose tackles above that left guard and just fucking bull rush him? Like, I thought that was genius. I don't... You know, I'm not a special teams guy, but like obviously Philadelphia works because you have 2 monsters in Davis and Carter, but I don't know why more teams don't specifically try that because it certainly worked in this one.
Yeah, you get your best players on the field for your biggest plays. I mean, that is pretty sound logic. And those 2 guys, Carter and Davis, they both stepped up, made huge special teams plays. And that to me really is the difference in this game. Like, I look at the Rams and I feel like this proved just how much they belong among the best of the best, because they should have won this game if not for the 2 blocked kicks. And obviously, look, there's 3 phases of the game. They got dogged in one of them, but I do think that's more of an outlier thing, whereas you look at their offensive production, they ran the ball really well. Overall, Stafford to Puka was dynamic. Stafford to Devontae, they had the one massive touchdown. They did miss on a couple of chances. I will agree with you there. There were a couple of knockout punch opportunities where Stafford to Devontae had near misses, but I still look at this game and I'm like, all right, they had the drive to make it an 8-point game and the kick gets blocked. And then literally, man, I mean, if you put your kicker in position for a 43-yard kick, is that what it was? Like, that is a better than 90% probability play normally in an NFL game. So I just can't put that on the quarterback when I thought he was pretty good overall. He was not perfect. Maybe he could have closed the door a little bit more authoritatively. And yet, if Cardi makes the kick, I don't think that we're saying that. And so I do feel like Stafford did his job. The Rams offense did their job overall, even though they let up in the second half because they were just so great in the first half and they still drove into scoring position a couple times when they needed to. And you look at the totality of this game, the Rams had significantly more yards per play. They had more total yards. They had more first downs. I thought their defense played an amazing first half and then did let up in the second half. But I really do think you look at the special teams execution. And if not for those 2 plays, they win the football game. So I do feel like the Rams can beat anybody in the NFC. And I do view them as the 3rd best team in the conference right now. We can't talk about the Packers later. They had a stinker. I'm a truther. I'm all bought in on Green Bay. And I mean, this was a terrible game, no doubt. But I do still feel like they are a more complete football team than the Rams. But the Rams definitely have a big time punch that they can throw against these elite teams with that pass rush, with their overall offensive punch, especially when Stafford is humming now with these 2 elite receivers. Like, to me, this felt like 2 elite more battle. And I thought that was a lot of fun.
I was just going to say, I still think there's more room for the Devontae Stafford connection. I still only think we're seeing the beginning. I think later in the year, they're going to even have better chemistry and they're going to connect on throws better. Like, I think they're still tapping into that connection.
I agree. But they did have the one huge play today.
Mm-hmm.
I did see this very impressive stat. This is from Next Gen Stats. Quinyon Mitchell shadowed Devontae Adams on 27 of 34 routes, almost 80% of his routes. And in that matchup, Devontae only had 2 receptions for 12 yards. His one big play came, he just basically ran by Reed Blankenship in the deep zone, and it was a really nice play. It was a really nice throw by Stafford, too. But shout out to Quinyon Mitchell, man, because that guy is an absolute stud, and he did his job in this one in a very tough matchup. But there's not a lot of teams that can guard both Puka and Devontae, and there's not a lot of quarterbacks better than Matt Stafford. So with what that pass rush has looked like early, you got to feel really good about the Rams. But the reigning champs did their thing in a really impressive way in this one. I want to talk about a marquee matchup out in the AFC, maybe not as much of a marquee matchup, but big divisional game between a couple of playoff teams from last year. Chargers-Broncos, Logan. This was another fun one, down to the wire. It's an LA win. They improved to 3-0. They are sitting alone atop the division. They got a couple game lead on everybody else in the AFC West. What did you take away from this performance by LA?
I mean, Justin Herbert's the shit.
Oh, yeah.
Justin Herbert's the man.
Oh, yeah.
Fourth quarter, 12 of 15, 123 yards and a TD. That TD in the red zone was just, I don't even know if they were in the red zone, where Herbert dances around and scrambles, looking like Fran Tarkenton back there, steps up in the pocket, finds Keenan Allen.
Tarkenton wishes, brother.
You know what I mean? Like a chicken with his head cut off behind the line of scrimmage, looking like Johnny Football in college. Like, just absurd stuff, dude. And to do it against his defense is what's so impressive to me with Herbert. Like, I think there's a lot of bad things to take away from this on Denver, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But there are just playmakers on playmakers on playmakers on this Broncos defense. And to come up big against them is just huge to me. Like Benito, Pat Surtain, Hufanga's on the field, like making plays. Like, there's so many great players on this Broncos defense. I really think, like, all things considered, they're top 5, top 3 in the league. Them, Minnesota, like, those are the top 2 off the top of my head. But Cleveland probably too after their performance. Cleveland's defense is star-studded. Green Bay's good too, for sure. Yeah. To do it against them is what's really impressive in this kind of environment. And, like, when he's I did think the Chargers were able to run the ball a little bit more effectively today, but it really is Herbert putting the offense on his back and just making stuff happen. Deep bombs to Quentin Johnston, who's finally getting his flow going, man. Keenan Allen has been awesome to infuse in this offense. He's just a reliable guy to get the ball to. I'm still really high on McConkey. Like, he's a star, man. And we've known this. I'm not surprised. Herbert was the reason that I went with the Chargers in this one. I think the Broncos probably have a better team top to bottom, all things considered, with how loaded that defense and offensive line is. The talent may be a little bit better in LA, but the difference is Herbert, and Herbert comes up big in this one. And on the flip side, I think it's just kind of hard to ignore how bad Bo Nix is, but we'll get to that in a minute, man. I think this further just reinforces how much the man Justin Herbert is, dude. And some of the historical stuff that he's on, like trajectory-wise, the completions, the yards, the touchdowns, Herbert is a statistical anomaly. And because of the lack of team success that the Chargers have had, I wonder if that just gets underappreciated, man. He's one of the best in the game right now, man. Herbert's really high in MVP conversations, I fear, right now.
Has there been a better quarterback through 3 weeks? I'll just ask you that straight up.
He's been better than Josh Allen. I mean, I don't know if, I feel like Josh still has performance of the year, right?
Josh has performance of the year. I think that Herbert's baseline level across all 3 games has been the highest, though. I mean, Lamar plays tomorrow. Obviously, he always figures into this conversation. Those are the 3 most impressive, most elite guys so far this season. And just in terms of week-to-week consistency, as a Bills fan, as Josh Allen's biggest fan and, frankly, aspiring lover, I think that Herbert would probably have the slight edge for me. But that's very close. Regardless, I mean, that's the level that he's playing at. It's just ridiculously high. And the Chargers are just so impressive as a team, man. They continue to assert themselves as the top dogs in the division, which we thought would be one of the toughest divisions of football coming into the year. And I just don't think you can look at them right now and not view them as a top 3 team in the AFC. Like, it's got to be Baltimore, Buffalo, and the Chargers. Maybe you have this long-term faith in the Chiefs, and I would hear that case. But in terms of who's playing at the highest level right now, it's those 3. And I think it's pretty clear. And Herbert is a huge reason for that, man. I mean, the windows that he is throwing into over the middle of the field, everywhere, but with such velocity, it's just such rare arm talent and such rare accuracy and such rare poise. That final touchdown throw was so stupid. The one that you mentioned, like to evade a sack, sprint out to his left and have to rip that throw on the move without being able to step into it, like across his body a little bit. It's just top tier stuff. It's stuff that very few dudes on the planet can do. And I feel like what a lot of Herbert's detractors have just consistently missed is that, like, he is one of those guys. He is one of the 5 dudes on the planet who has this combination of ridiculous physical traits with also such high-level processing and understanding of the game. And he's just put it all together at such a high level. He was nails on third downs, up against an elite defense, under significant pressure. So impressive yet again. I also do have to give credit to the totality of this Chargers offense, though, because although I think Herbert makes everybody look better, Quentin Johnston has taken the leap, man. I'm sold. I don't think we're looking at 1 fluke game, 2 fluke games now. I think he has improved as a football player. Like, the play that he high pointed, this was another ridiculous throw by Herbert where he's rolling out to his right under pressure. But Quentin Johnston goes up and just snags what could have been a 50-50 ball. You just wouldn't have trusted him to do that last year or his rookie season. Even though he's always been like this imposing athlete, he's always been so inconsistent, mental errors, drops, struggling to separate, and he's just balling out right now. I thought this was a nice bounce back game from Hampton too, being a really good release valve, particularly as a pass catcher in this game. Keenan Allen, as you mentioned, the synergy there, he's making plays. Like, it just feels like Herbert is playing at the highest level he's ever been at, but also he feels like he can trust his playmakers in a way that for most of his career he hasn't been able to. And obviously he can trust his defense in a way that he hasn't been able to. Because I do think when we talk about the best defenses in football, Chargers are somewhere pretty high up on that list. And even though they had a couple of lapses in this one, Denver had a couple opportunities at shot plays, a couple of which they did not convert on. They're still so stellar overall. They're so fundamentally sound. They're generally so good at keeping things in front. And they're just a really damn good football team. And I feel like they just continue to cement that week after week.
I concur. Carson, can you entertain the people that are shit on Bo Nix right quick? I have to free my dog from her cage.
Free her, bro. Free her out the pen. I'll talk about Bo Nix because I did think the Broncos had their chances in this game. There's a couple of big opportunity throws that Bo just missed. I mean, first of all, I think you got to commend brilliant play call to take that shot on fourth down, their first touchdown of the game. Really well executed play action. But I do look at the totality of this offensive infrastructure, and I think like the protection is awesome. Sean Payton, I do think, is a very good play caller. I think he draws dudes wide open a lot. Cortland Sutton is a monster. J.K. Dobbins has been awesome for them. And Bo just misses a lot of throws. And some of these are really key throws. And that's been an issue for him consistently. He was one of the least accurate quarterbacks in football last year. Statistically, you look at completion percentage over expected, all of the accuracy metrics, honestly. And this year, he's been one of the least accurate quarterbacks in football. He's got jittery feet, inconsistent footwork, doesn't always have a solid base. And I just don't think he has a very accurate arm. And so he misses a wide open touchdown on a flea flicker that was perfectly drawn up. And Bo just misses the throw. He misses Cortland Sutton for a potential huge play up the sideline on that final drive. You hit on one of those plays, that's the game right there. So I do look at this team, and I think the defense is literally as good as any in football. I thought it'd be the best defense coming into the year. Nothing has changed that for me. I'm still so wildly impressed by the pass rush, the secondary. It's just a stacked defense. I look at the offense, and I'm like, okay, healthy Dobbins is an absolute playmaker, and you just hope that he stays 100% for them because he's been so good. They just need more consistent, better quarterback play, and they'd be a contender. And I do look at this roster, and I still think like they're so talented that even sitting at 1-2 right now, they should make the playoffs. But they have the same problem that they had last year, and it's that the quarterback play is just not at the level where you think they're going to go out there and beat any of these elite teams in the AFC.
You hit the nail on the head, man. I mean, it's what we said about them last year, and people were angry because they're like, oh, you don't think Bo Nix is going to get better? No, I actually think his stats are kind of deceiving to the player that he actually is. And I agree with you, man. I come away feeling like this was a really impressive defensive performance from Denver, where if their offense just wasn't anemic, they would have won this game. All the throws that you mentioned that Bo misses, if he does, this game's done. It's wraps. The Chargers have no chance of winning this game. More importantly, though, they couldn't even stay on the field. This team went 2 of 13 on third down. They lost the time of possession battle. Chargers had the ball for 36 minutes, and the Chargers ran 32 more plays of offense. And I think that led to this defense kind of breaking down as this game went along. Just the rigor and the fatigue of having to stay on the field for so long and some of these long drives. I do have a silver lining, though, Carson. Here it is.
Yeah.
You haven't paid Bo Nix yet. And that's the beauty in this. Because we have seen teams, and honestly, Carson, we talk about this all the time on the show, but we have seen teams allocate their salary cap in the wrong ways. And in a lot of ways, that can be more damaging to your franchise and the prospects of your future than anything else. You take a look at a team like the Miami Dolphins, where I look at a guy like Tua, and I look at Bo Nix, and I go, damn, man, I actually don't know who I'd rather have. They're kind of on similar footing to me. I'd probably rather have Tua, maybe. I don't know. It's really a shit off.
That is a shit off, man. I don't know. I think I would probably slightly prefer Bo because of the mobility.
Well, I was going to say, the circumstances, if it's a dome or something, I think I'd go Tua, but if we're outdoors or cold, I'd probably go Bo.
Tua obviously is better at just like straight up executing within structure. Like if he's able to just get the ball to his first read, his accuracy is pretty good in those spots. His timing is pretty good. But like the extent to which he truly falls apart off schedule and under pressure, that doesn't happen to Bo. Bo was really bad under pressure statistically last year. I think that's a problem of his. Tua takes it to another level where you're like, oh, buddy, you've gone and you've thrown it right to the defensive player once again. Tua, it's the third straight week that you've done that. I don't know. He's just deteriorated so far in my eyes, man. But that is a shit off. Those are 2 of the 10 worst starting quarterbacks in football.
The beauty is, though, is that you don't have to pay him all that money. Is that if you're smart and even if you're a Broncos fan and you bought in a bunch of stock on Bo Nix, you can just go, I didn't get that one right. And you can just say, we don't have to pay him $50 million. We don't have to pay him $30 million. Maybe we can keep Bo around for 20. But if he wants more than that, we're going to go tell him to kick rocks, go find a job backing up somebody else. Like, that is the beauty of this, and unfortunately, the downside is you're not paying him, so you have this stacked roster that is ready to compete, but you don't have the quarterback, and it sucks because you still need to find him. And it sucks anytime you have this competitive and solid of a roster, and you're not able to go out and legitimately compete for a championship, because that is the handicap that Bo Nix imposes on your franchise. But you can move on, and you don't have to make that kind of financial commitment to him. You can just go hand up. That's on us. We can find somebody else. And, dude, you talk about some of the play calling with Sean Payton. That 52-yard bomb in the first half, I think, is a prime example. Well, also, the throws that Bo missed, all that is brilliantly schemed up stuff by Sean Payton. The one in the first half that they do hit on, that fake toss that gets the safety to bite down, and then Nix bombs a 52-yard TD to Cortland Sutton. Brilliant. It really is just a QB, man. And we've dogged on Bo for a long time. I feel vindicated through 3 weeks. I feel bad for Broncos fans, especially Drew, because he just can't let it go. I think he wants Bo to be the guy. I want Bo to be the guy for you, man. I just don't think he is. Through 3 weeks, Bo's given you 5 TDs, 4 turnovers, 202 total yards per game, a completion percentage of 64.2%, and a passer rating of 83.5. Man, I just think he's a bottom 10 starter and a guy that limits you when we're talking about competing against the best of the best in the AFC. And we said this all last year. When you get there, man, you got to beat Josh. You got to beat Lamar. You got to beat Pat. You got to beat Herbert. You're not beating those guys with Bo Nix, man.
Look, regardless of whatever exactly you think of Bo Nix, right? And you and I are probably both Bo pessimists. I think we're maybe lower on him than the consensus. But regardless, you cannot watch a game like this and not feel like there is an immense difference in quarterback play, and that is the difference, and that is the thing that is going to hold Denver back right now. Maybe you think down the line Bo will get better. Okay, we can disagree on how much potential for improvement there is with his skill set, but right now, the consistency with which a Justin Herbert can move the ball against an elite defense, execute on third down where he was great and the Broncos were terrible, string together complete drives, because the Broncos hit on a couple of explosives, but this is a crazy stat, Logan. LA had 29 first downs. Denver had 9. And when you get to a spot where it's like, okay, I need you to make a superhuman throw to tie this game up, yet Justin Herbert can do that. I need you to lead this clutch drive to win the game, get us in scoring position. Yeah, Justin Herbert can do that. The guy's just exceptional. And Bo obviously is not remotely close to that level, and it really makes a difference, especially when you get to winning time. There's another team, Logan, with a young quarterback who is hoping that they have found their guy, obviously bet a lot on him, and got to be feeling good after today. The Chicago Bears, huge bounce back win after getting 30-pieced by the Lions last week. They come back and they have a dominant win of their own in this one against your most hated Dallas Cowboys, Logan. What did you take away from Chicago's much improved performance?
The Cowboys defense sucks ass, and Matt Eberflus doesn't know what he's doing.
They forgot about the Eberflus revenge game narrative.
Exactly. I'm still bought in on Caleb Williams, and I know there's a lot of varying opinions on what he's going to end up being. I still think Caleb is destined to be a top 10, top 5 quarterback in this league. I think he's got way too much talent to not ultimately figure it out. I've been wrong about guys before. Trevor Lawrence is probably the biggest one. I thought he had all the tools. I thought he had it all. I'm still waiting for him to put it together, but I even like Caleb's tools more. I think Caleb's in that tier 1 when you're talking about prospects that check all those boxes. I mean, he was just slinging it all over the yard today. I think it spoke to 2 things. One, I think this is going to be a beautiful union of Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson. All the kinks may not be sorted out in year 1.
Oh my, Logan. What are we talking about here?
My fault. Well, what's a better way to say that? Everything might not be ironed out immediately.
Logan, it's off limits. It's off limits for us to even discuss that.
Well, we've already been there. I don't have to rehash all things.
All right, buddy. Talk about the football. Come on. Let's get moving.
I think Caleb and Ben Johnson are going to be one of the best quarterback coordinator tandems in football one day. Like, McVay, Stafford, LaFleur, Love. I think that Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams could be right in that same ilk. And you look at the most valuable tandem that you can have in football, and it is that union of genius offensive coordinator and quarterback. Like you think of, some of the all-time greats, if it's like Breeze and Peyton, when you can find that guy, when you can find the guy with the talent, and I'm not comparing those two, that's just like the extreme example, like Walsh or Montana, right? I'm just using those guys as you can create some of the greatest offenses of all time. I'm not saying the Bears are going
Kyle
to...
Shanahan.
Shout out. They were cooking. They did enough. McCorkle did enough today. 16 points, but they got the job done. I think that Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams are cooking up something special, and I think as they build, as Caleb becomes more comfortable, as this offensive line gels together, as he figures it out with his wide receivers, I just think the Bears are building a solid foundation, and that's something they haven't had in a long time. They've been through the ringer of the Mitch Trubisky's, of the Matt Nagy's, the Eberfluses, right? They've done it. I'm in on this. I'm in on, and it's against the shitty Cowboys defense, right? They let fucking Russ light them up. That tells you everything you need to know about the Cowboys defense. But I think this is the beginning, and I think you're getting glimpses of what this offense is going to look like more consistently, maybe a year from now, maybe later in this year. I'm encouraged by this union, and I think the Bears are going to be all right, man. But I think this is probably Caleb's best game of his career, man. I can't think of... He had some good ones last year, but I think this is the best game he's played in his young career.
Tell me if I'm being hyperbolic. Does this not feel almost like a season-saving performance for Chicago? I mean, if you drop
in terms of vibes, yeah.
Well, vibes are important, Logan. You know how much I value vibes. Like, we were talking about this a little pre-show, but this was the game I was most conflicted over when we were doing our game picks. I wanted to be optimistic about Chicago, but last week they just looked so not put together. They looked disorganized, and they really just got shredded, and they didn't look like a professional football team that was ready to go out there and win games. And with Dallas, you think at least you're getting pretty good stuff from Dak. You feel confident in that offense for the most part. But, man, what a bounce back from the Bears, because last week was so ugly for them in so many ways, and this was an A-plus response for everybody, every unit of this football team, every key contributor. I thought defensively is honestly what I look at first, because everybody always wants to talk about Caleb. In the first couple weeks, yes, he was erratic. He was up and down. I think way too much was made of that arm punt pick that he threw, which, like, yeah, I get that it was stupid in week 2, but that was what, 3rd and 19. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think that was a significant play, but yes, he had his inconsistencies for sure, but at the end of the day, it's the defense that let up 52 points, and that's where they really got torched and embarrassed in that game. Defense come back in this one. They're getting pressure. They make some big swing plays with turnovers, a couple of them late in this game when it's basically already over. But I thought that they stepped up in a huge way. And then I do look at the Caleb and Ben Johnson combo. This felt like both of those guys clicking kind of to their utmost potential, at least this current version of Caleb. But this was the level of creativity. This was the level of ingenuity that we've come to expect from Ben Johnson that made him such an appealing hire. I think he's really been impressive to me just as like a leader from a cultural aspect. The seriousness with which he approaches the game clearly, like, I think is just a positive thing to have in a locker room to set an example for the team. But it was his brilliant offensive play calling. And absolutely part of that is establishing the run at a really high level and putting together such an effective run game. But it's also the ability to play off of that. It's the ability to scheme up massive wins for your offense. And we saw that in this one. I mean, the flea flicker was absolutely sexual. I just thought Ben Johnson got in his bag, and I thought that Caleb was sensational. The flea flicker, that's the play of the game, obviously. The play call is awesome. The throw is just as impressive, though, because for some reason, I mean, DeAndre Swift lofts that ball back to Caleb. I think he put a little too much air under that one on the pitch back. So Caleb's not really fully able to step into the throw. There is a defensive player kind of bearing down on him, and he rips that thing. I don't know, man, 60 yards on the money. Like, there were a few throws in this game where you just see, yeah, the arm talent is A+. And we know that. We know the physical traits are A+. It's going to be about the accuracy, the consistency as a decision maker. All that stuff was money in this game. I thought that Caleb played a pretty much flawless game in this one. It was fun to see Luther Burden get involved. Obviously, we hadn't seen that from him up to this point. Rome has really emerged in these last couple weeks, and hopefully he can be a consistent wide receiver one for them.
They got a ton of way too much criticism after 1 year, man. People like to make. I mean, I know we do this with certain guys. People like to make big declarations after rookie seasons, and I thought too many people were out on him after just 1 year, man.
Yeah, he's looked really good. And I just think overall, this win means a lot for their season. I think it says a lot about their fabric as a football team. I think it's positive. Again, about all of these key areas, Caleb's ability to bounce back, Ben Johnson's ability to bounce back, the defense's ability to bounce back. And it's not necessarily, okay, let's go now. The Bears are making the playoffs. Because if you look at this stacked division, man, they're still coming 4th out of 4 in my power rankings. The competition's really tough. And we got to see more consistency because we didn't see that in the first 2 weeks. But it means something to respond. It means something to clean things up in such a backs against the wall kind of spot. And they did that. Just a really, really awesome game from them. For the Cowboys, I don't have a ton to say other than your defense sucks. As you touched on, you are counting on the offense to win every game for you. And it just
they're not even
in this one.
They're not even counting on the offense. You're counting on Dak Prescott to play perfect football games. And like, even as the most stout Dak hater on the planet, I'm going to cut the guy some slack. Like you are literally asking, it's like asking your starting pitcher, hey, look, I know that you could have a really quality start. You could go 6 innings. You could allow 3 hits, 1 run. Shout out a baseball analogy on Nerd Sesh. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, that's not good enough. I just don't need a quality start. I need a shutout. I need you to pitch a shutout. Like, I need you to play perfect ball. There's just so little margin for error for Dak. Like, if he isn't getting points every drive, you feel like the Cowboys are going to lose. And so this isn't to excuse the 2 interceptions, but it's like the guy's got to go balls to the walls to just eke out victories, man. And without CD, it's just too much of an uphill task.
Yeah, and both of the picks came late. I mean, yeah, they were bad, but it's like
they're trying to get back in the game.
End of the third quarter, the Cowboys had 6 drives. I mean, their defense could not get off the field. You get 14 points on 6 drives. That's not bad. That's solid offensive production, and you just don't even have a chance. And now you're going into the 4th down 17, and it's like, feels like the game is over. And I think that has to be put on the defense here. And the CD injury, man, that's really tough. We'll see what the timeline is there, but there's just not much to feel good about after this one for Dallas. There is a lot to feel good about for Chicago. They have to do it against somebody other than the Cowboys. Not to say that the Cowboys are like a bad team, because I think that they're fine. I think that they're decent, but let's see it put together more consistently. It was nice, though, to see Ben Johnson now not going up against his old team get a really nice bounce back coaching performance and a nice win from his fellas. Let's talk about the Sunday night football game now, Logan, because it wasn't a thriller, but nevertheless, the Kansas City Chiefs getting a win has actually become a story because they were coming into week 3 winless. They now have wiped that off of their resume. They are sitting at 1-2. What did you take away from this game, them beating the Giants?
The Chiefs kind of look like shit, man.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I just don't really know what to make of Kansas City right now. I'm glad that I bailed on Kansas City when I did. Sorry, my dog's losing it. Juju, I'm shooting a podcast here, you dick. I need you to be quiet.
It's a podcast. It's essential to society's survival.
She doesn't get it. She just doesn't get it. Tiny dog. I was really hoping the Chiefs were going to look even better in this matchup, and they look good. I was just expecting a drubbing like this not to even be close, and I'm just disappointed by this offense, man. It feels like they're not getting the most that they could out of Mahomes, and obviously there's a lot of moving parts and pieces here. We all know they don't have their biggest wide receivers. Worthy's out, right? Like Rashee Rice is out. Like, obviously that's going to take your offense down a notch, but they're just lacking something, Carson. I don't know what it is, man. A spark. Like, I don't know what exactly I can say to quantify it as.
Youthful exuberance, joie de vivre.
Yeah, honestly, there's like the
Kansas City Chiefs that I knew would do ring around the posy out of the huddle, and they would score on that very play.
They're not whimsical anymore. They lost all their whimsy. And so, unfortunately, they just can't play good football. I don't know, man. There's a lot of moving parts here with Kansas City. There's been a lot of roster turnover over the past few years, and they are missing some key guys. But to me, this just doesn't feel like a thing that's going to sort itself out as the season goes along. We'll see how different the offense looks with Rasheed, with Worthy. If there is something to be encouraged by, I would say it was the defense's performance tonight, although Russ just gifted him a couple of picks. Like, that's just what Russ does now. He stinks. But I guess that's the only thing I'd be encouraged by. And then Tyquan Thornton. Tyquan Thornton had an awesome game tonight. He balled out. So, not that this is nothing. The Chiefs get their first win of the season. They just don't. I can't believe I'm saying this about a team led by Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs just don't strike that kind of fear into me the way they have the past 3 to 4 years.
Well, I think that that's reasonable at this point. I mean, you even saying that you expected like a drubbing in this one, that's not my expectation with this version of the Chiefs against anybody. My expectation is a win that like looks kind of ugly and is a little more competitive than maybe you would like it to be. And that's what this one was. Like, they don't feel a level above even a very mediocre team like the Giants right now. And we've talked about this, but the play calling, I do think, is significantly more bland. I mean, they do love trying to run the football and they're not very good at it. And like, we beat the same drum over and over again, but it's true. These are recurring issues with this team. Also, just like a couple of really weird mental errors from Patrick Mahomes in this game. I think overall Mahomes has been totally fine this season. I mean, I think that he has done his job for this team for the most part. Honestly, I think that he has made plays in difficult circumstances, what we saw him do using his legs. I mean, as a creator, I think he's been pretty good, but like for Patrick Mahomes, one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen play this game, 30 years old now, why twice in a game are you basically trying to throw the ball away backwards? Like, I don't know if he thought he was going to get those passes to the running back, but he's dirting them. I mean, it's not remotely close. Pat, buddy, you can't do that backwards. Turns out it's actually a fumble. Turns out that's actually a live ball, and luckily they got away by the skin of their teeth, and he actually made a play to recover one of those fumbles, which was hilarious because Collinsworth, listen, I'm not somebody who gets upset about Mahomes glaze because I think that Mahomes had the highest quarterback peak in NFL history. I'm a Mahomes glazer, I guess, too, by that standard. But when Collinsworth goes, oh, what a play there, Mike. He falls on the ball. That's actually a takeaway by Patrick Mahomes.
Wait, are you talking about when he forced the fumble?
Yeah, when he took the ball back.
I mean, that shit was kind of hype, man. Mahomes just took that shit.
No, that was a great play. Also, Logan, he threw the ball into the dirt back.
Well, yeah.
The fumble was his fault.
Well, at the start, for half the play, he was geeking, and in the second half of the play, he locked in.
No, that's a great point. But just Collinsworth enthusiasm about it, and then Tirico having to be like, well, he did put the ball in harm's way. He kind of had to snap it back into reality for a second. But that's just kind of weird to me. There's just kind of a funk around this team. It is kind of bizarre, but I am still going to hold out hope and just a degree of respect for this team that, like, we have to acknowledge how severely the weapons are lacking right now. I think Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy make a world of difference for this team. Your most reliable possession-to-possession guy and your ultimate speed guy. We're seeing right now, I mean, what kind of impact an elite speed downfield weapon can have in this offense with Tyquan Thornton, who's a guy who was not being utilized by the New England Patriots, who had the worst group of pass catchers in football. And like, I've been impressed by him in Kansas City, but he's opened up a dimension of the deep passing game that we hadn't seen as much these last couple of years. And I think that absolutely Worthy is another guy who opens up that same dimension, but obviously can do it with a lot more volume, more skill, more consistency. So Thornton, I think, will slot in as like a nice complementary player in this room. But once you have those top two guys back, I think it makes a real difference. Again, I don't think it's going to lead to them doing a 180 and suddenly they look like the Ravens or the Bills offensively. That's just not happening this year. But I think there'll be a pretty good offense under those circumstances. And so I'm going to hold out to really reserve judgment until we see them at full strength. But there's not a ton to take away from this game. It went mostly as I would have expected, I guess. And for the Giants, there's not much to say other than Cam Skattebo, ASU legend.
Sweet,
absolutely dude. Ridiculous what he does after contact.
I think I have a new theory on running backs, man. If you're just like crazy, if you just got like a screw loose, I think I want you a running back. Because Cam's not all there. That's why I love him. He's
not all there whatsoever.
He's crazy. That's why I love him now. I mean, he runs like a crazy person.
He doesn't just run like a crazy person. He blocks like a crazy person. He plays with a level of physicality I don't think I've seen from a running back
in a long time.
Yeah,
dude. I agree.
He's like a halfback, fullback hybrid.
He
It's
reminds
like
me
even
of
Derrick Henry, who's like the hardest guy to tackle maybe ever, just in terms of strength. He doesn't even play as physically as Cam when it comes to initiating contact. He's a psycho.
He reminds me of Riggins, man. Just like the way he's just fearless. He's just not afraid to run over anybody. So I think that is encouraging for New York. Hopefully Malik Neighbors is healthy. If Neighbors is out, I think this offense takes a major hit. Like, he is the only real difference maker for them. I think Scat's a beast, and he's going to be good in this league, but Neighbors is a tier 1, A1 superstar difference maker. And then the other big take is Russ's days are numbered, man. You heard it in the stadium mid-game, but the fans are cheering for Dart. They're doing the platoon tag in, tag out kind of thing on some drives. Also, the scouting report's out, man. Everybody knows what Russ has got. He has one tool in his bag, and it is that deep ball. Yeah. And he could have thrown more picks tonight. Like, that's all he's got, and teams can game plan for that so easily.
It was ridiculous, the extent to which he was just spamming it, like, double coverage, triple coverage. Let's just see if I can somehow get a moon ball to Wan'Dale Robinson or Malik Neighbors. And unfortunately, like, that's the play where Neighbors gets hurt. So I agree. I don't know what the timeline is on his injury, but he's everything for this team. I mean, I was just raving about how absurdly talented he is. And by the way, I thought the Chiefs came in with a great defensive game plan of just trying to keep everything underneath, take away those explosives, because that is all that the Giants offense really has in the passing game. And they hit on a lot of them last week, but Russ was trying to force them, and it just was not working in this one. And so they really kept Neighbors in check. And that's the reality with this Giants team. I think the defense is impressive, as we've talked about. The pass rush, Brian Burns and Abdul Carter, both I thought had nice games in this one, and they're just absolute studs. But offensively, they are definitely limited. Scatterboo, really nice player for them, though. I mean, to get that guy in the 4th round, I don't know if he's somebody who's unfortunately even going to get a second contract of any size. Like, when we talk about short NFL lifespans at the running back position, this play style is like the epitome of that. I mean, it is hyper physical, but I do think people looked at him and they're like, okay, this is like the slowest running back I've ever seen. And it's like, yeah, well, he's also the toughest running back to tackle that you've ever seen. And there's a reason.
Also, I mean, there's
one of the best running backs in college football. It's because nobody could tackle him then. And still in the NFL, people can't tackle him.
Also, I was just going to add, we act like the 40-yard dash is like the be-all, end-all on if a guy is going to be good at football. It's like, oh, yeah, that's why John Ross is the greatest wide receiver of all time, man. There's a difference. Jerry Rice ran a 40-yard dash at like 4 or 5. You put him in game, Jerry Rice actually has game speed of like 4.3, so I think people put a little too much stock in that, man. Can the guy play ball or not? And I think Cam can play ball.
I am a Dree Archer GOAT truther, though. I do think that because he is the fastest, he is the best. But yeah, man, Scat makes plays. I mean, he's a really good pass catching back, and obviously short yardage, he's just an absolute monster to bring down. But he's basically gone out there and taken that starting job. I mean, taking more touches, at least from Tyrone Tracy. So good for him. Otherwise, for the Giants, not so good, but not so surprising. You know who things went worse than not so good for, Logan? You know who things went absolute just disaster mode for? The Green Bay Packers, who I have been one of the premier glazers of, and I'm not afraid to say it. And they came in as maybe the most hyped up, the most dominant team in football through 2 weeks, and then they lose to the Cleveland Browns. Logan, what do you take away from this game?
I got you. Hand up. That's on me, Packers. I got y'all. I put the curse on y'all, man. I put y'all number 1 in the contender rankings, and then boom, here come the Browns.
You got to go back to hating.
I do, and then they're going to be sweet again.
Mm-hmm.
I've been banging the drum for the Browns for a minute, and not in the sense of like their offense is going to be good, but I've been trying to tell people that this defense is legit, and they've always been legit. And this Browns defense has remarkable talent and continuity. A lot of these guys have played together now for 3 or 4 seasons. In this offseason, they added an influx of talent. Mason Graham on the defensive line, out of Michigan. Sweshinger, the linebacker out of UCLA. Those guys are legit. Those are starting caliber players. And they've just got a ton of talent. What they did to the Bengals, I thought was super impressive week 1. Obviously, they get cooked by the Ravens, but I thought that had more to do with the Browns giving them short field position offensively. This is what Cleveland's capable of doing. They hold Green Bay to 3.8 yards per play in this one. It's ridiculous. They get 5 sacks, just hellacious pressure on Jordan Love all game long. And one of the most impressive things to me, just a stifling run defense. They hold Green Bay to 2.5 yards per carry. On the season, the Browns defense is allowing 2.3 yards per carry. That's number 1 in the NFL. And they're allowing just 204 total yards per game. That is also number 1 in the NFL. And they just let them linger around enough on the deciding drive in this one. It's such a crazy ending still. Judkins breaks off a 38-yard rush. The Packers have 2 massive penalties that give the Browns an extra 6 attempts at the end zone. They still don't get in. They have to kick the field goal. Then Delpit picks off Jordan Love. A holding penalty puts the ball on the goal line. The Browns get in the end zone. McManus has a field goal blocked, and then they win it on a 55-yard field goal. I mean, just an insane ending. Like, you know, you come away, you're like, not only should the Packers win this, at like bare minimum, this game should go overtime, right? Like, there's no way the Browns should have won this one in regulation.
It's the exact scenario that we talked about. Basically, I mean, if you line up a 43-yard field goal to win the game with 17 seconds left, not only 90% of the time are you winning that game, 99% of the time you are either winning the game or going to overtime. So you win the game barring a complete special teams disaster, and they got a complete special teams disaster, which was the theme of the day around the NFL, real, man.
And so I thought the Packers' offensive line really got handled up front. I thought the Browns dominated in the trenches. And this defense is really damn good. It is important to mention the Packers without starting right tackle Zach Tom. He leaves on the first play from scrimmage. Aaron Banks exits this game. He's also another starter. So they're missing 2 starters. That's really important to mention when you're talking about this. And I thought they shot themselves.
Obviously. Jaden Reed out for a while.
And I thought they shot themselves in the foot. I mentioned some of the penalties in the red zone on defense. They had 14 penalties for 75 yards. Those ended up kind of stacking up and being really costly in this one. So, I don't know, man. I really respect the Cleveland defense. So, like, I don't come away from this being like, oh, Green Bay's offense isn't A1 caliber. I kind of say, obviously a disappointing game from the rushing attack and Love, but they are missing 2 offensive linemen against a dominant defensive front. So maybe I shouldn't have been as high on the Packers as I was, but I'm not going to like bail on them. I still think they're a top 5 team, I'd still say maybe top 3. Like the Ravens, I probably should have had in my number 1 spot, but I'm not out on the Packers. I think they had some key injuries at some bad spots. And I mean, this Browns defense is awesome, man. Look up and down their roster, like Myles Garrett, Delpit, Denzel Ward, dude. They just have difference makers.
Number 1 defense in points allowed per drive 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And that team, and I said this today when I was talking to my boy, I think this defense is better than the defense 2 years ago that they made the playoffs with 5 different starting quarterbacks. I think they've improved since then.
It's a very good defense, and you got to give them credit for that. And we understand the context with some of the injuries for Green Bay, but there's no excusing this loss. This was the lock of the week on paper. This is a pretty much consensus top 3 team in football coming into the week, going up against, I don't know, wherever.
This one was the parlay killer. This one was the parlay killer.
This was the parlay killer. This was the survivor pool killer. This was the dream killer for some Packers fans. No, the dream's not dead. The dream is very much alive. And I'll tell you something right now. I'm not fucking leaving when it comes to being a Packers believer, okay? If anything, I'll double down right now. When the fake and the weak of heart leave, Logan, that's when I sink in the trenches. I sink deeper in.
When the going gets tough, the tough get going.
And the weak get going out the door. And that's you, Logan. Me, I'm all in. Here's the thing. The Packers defense was pretty excellent in this game again. Like, Cleveland was scoreless until there was
Joe Flacco fucking sucks, man.
Well, Joe Flacco sucks for sure. No question. But when you consider that you held the team scoreless until the last 4 minutes, you only allow 1 actual scoring drive because they get the ball at your 4-yard line after the pick, and then they've only got to get 1 first down for the field goal. Like, you hold them to 220 yards, 3.9 yards per play. Sure, it's Cleveland, but that's an elite defensive performance, and it's the 3rd consecutive elite defensive performance. It's after they did it to the Lions, to the Commanders, teams that we think, wow, those are awesome offenses, and the Packers shut them down. So If you're asking me who's been the most impressive defense through 3 weeks, I'm still saying Green Bay. This game doesn't change that. Offensively, though, they were just not nearly good enough in this game. And that's what's going to determine this team's ceiling. The defense I could not be more all in on. And the offense through 2 games looked like a well-oiled machine. I mean, Jordan Love was like the most explosive passer in football. When you just look at completed air yards per attempt, he was letting it rip over the middle, up the seam, spreading the wealth to everybody. LaFleur's a great play caller. This is a team that can run the ball really well. And so it felt like, yeah, I mean, that's the formula to them being a lead on both sides of the ball. But even though I think the Browns defense is really good and you're without some key guys and Tucker Kraft even out there, like he's playing maybe banged up in this game. He was questionable until game time. There's still no excuses because Green Bay couldn't run the ball all day. And then there was a lot of pressure on Love, right? They weren't able to consistently move the ball, but that one terrible pick, that's the game. I mean, if you even make Cleveland drive the length of the field, they're not going to do it. Your defense has been so great. You're still going to win the game if you don't give them the ball deep in your territory. And that was a terrible pick. Like he was targeting Wicks, I guess, but Wicks was running the route at a totally different depth than Love expected. He basically threw it right to the defensive player. And although I'm a Jordan Love optimist and I'm a Packers optimist overall, like if you're going to ask me, okay, what's the one swing factor for this team? What's going to either sink or make their aspirations as legit contenders? It's going to be the consistency of Jordan Love and this passing attack overall. And this was a bad game on that front. The first 2 games were awesome. I mean, especially the second game. The first half of the first game was awesome. The second game was awesome. This game was bad. But again, even if you don't have that special teams disaster, you win the football game. I don't think there's nearly as much panic around the Packers right now. That is the one knock on them. Like, can that offense be as consistent as the best of the best as Baltimore, Buffalo, Philly? Honestly, I mean, my answer would be absolutely yes. We can praise Philly for having a really good offensive day today, but they had 2 terrible offensive games to start the season in terms of the passing attack, and they looked much more limited. So just considering how good Green Bay did look in the first 2 games, considering how much had to go horribly wrong for them to actually lose this one, like, I'm just not very worried. I'm still super high on Green Bay. This is a terrible loss. You can acknowledge that. And yet I do think it's an outlier. When I look at teams who, in terms of coaching on both sides of the ball, talent on both sides of the ball, in every way, run defense, pass defense, pass rush, safety talent, overall front 7 talent, offensively, having playmakers when they're fully healthy, having a really good offensive line, being able to run the ball consistently and being explosive passing, like they just check all the boxes. If Jordan Love plays a bad game, that's going to kill them, right? That'll be it. He has to be more consistent. And overall, offensively, they really came up short against a great defense, but I'm certainly not in a place where I'm like, yeah, this is it for the Packers. I don't know how you could be after the first 2 weeks.
Neither am I. And don't be surprised if somebody else comes into Cleveland and Cleveland does this to them, because this is Cleveland Browns football. They can force you to play this kind of... It's not pretty. It's actually a very ugly, disgusting watch, but Cleveland is capable of doing this to offenses. Stefanski, I get it. The record has not reflected it. This defense is super talented. There are Pro Bowlers at all 3 levels, and Stefanski has this team ready to go no matter the circumstances, man. Like, say what you want about Cleveland. You can laugh on them. You can goof on them. You can shit on this offense all you want. This defense is going to be prepared and ready to go, and they're legit, man. So, and again, the Packers are missing some quality guys. Like you said, man, it's inexcusable. You shouldn't lose to Cleveland, especially when your defense balls out like this, but I'm not bailing. I'm not jumping ship either.
Browns defense shut down the Bengals. I mean, should have won that game, if not for a special teams disaster of their own, actually. The Ravens, I mean, destroyed them. But even that game, I mean, I think the Ravens had 10 points in the first half. I think the first half was 10-3, and then they really opened it up in like the fourth quarter. So terrible, no excusing it. And yet I'm not freaking out when Green Bay checks so many boxes. And to me, they're still my favorite in the NFC. I still overall like their passing attack more than the Eagles. I like their defense more right now. I like their coaching more. Like, I'm sticking by all that. It's a terrible loss. Great teams lose terrible games, man. Happens in the NFL. Let's talk about Jags-Texans, Logan. This is a pretty big game for the AFC South, obviously. Your reigning division champ, Houston Texans, now 0-3, and the Jags are 2-1. What did you take away from this one?
I don't ever want to watch a Houston Texans football game again because the Texans play in the Stinky Poop Bowl every week.
Mm-hmm.
You know, earlier I said I thought the Eagles maybe played like my least favorite brand of football. I think the Texans might take the cake, man. I can't watch a fucking Texans game. It's ugly. It's nasty. And this was, in my opinion, for both teams, just a game of missed opportunities. It felt like, who wants to lose this game less? And we're going to have them win. Like for Houston.
Well, Logan, you're describing an AFC South football game is what you're doing.
True. Very true. Classic. Yeah. The reason I was rolling with the Texans in this one is because they hadn't lost this game in Jacksonville against the Jaguars for 7 straight years. They'd come down to Duval and handled business. You know why they didn't? Because Liam Cohen exists.
That's right, baby.
Yeah.
Duval.
Exactly. Houston, 4 of 15 on third down. 3 turnovers. C.J. Stroud throws the game-losing pick and the one to start the fourth quarter, and you got the Nico Collins fumble. Texans have 7 penalties for 66 yards. Even worse than that, one of the big plays in the first half, a defensive pass interference on Howard extends a drive for Jacksonville, gifts them a Bashal Tootin touchdown where they would have forced them to settle for a field goal. Kaimi Fairbairn smokes a field goal earlier in this game, and Jacksonville holds them up in the red zone, forcing another field goal. Jacksonville also had their fair share of shortcomings. They also went 4 of 15 on third down. Trevor Lawrence had an embarrassing fourth quarter interception. They go for it on fourth down. I applaud Liam Cohen and his aggression late in this game. Ball batted at the line of scrimmage. They have 9 penalties for 90 yards, and Cam Little misses a 40-yard field goal. Like, man, just a comedy of errors. But my big take from this game is I'm going to give up on the Texans. I'm done.
Yeah.
I thought, even to this game, Carson, I was holding out hope. Because, you know, like we were saying about the Bears, week 3 is like the make or break, put up or shut up. Our season is on the line for teams that are 0-2. And so I thought Texans have this 7-year win streak in Duval. They own the Jags in Jacksonville. They need this game more than Jacksonville, more importantly, right? Jacksonville's 1-1. Houston's 0-2. Been in both games. Got to get this one. And they just can't get it done. And this offense is, I think, they could be the worst in football. Right now, and I tweeted this out, not only are they 0-3, they are dead last in points per game at 12.6. They are dead last in third down percentage. They are 8 of 33 on third down. That's 24.2%. Less than a quarter of the time the Texans are converting a third down, and they are dead last in red zone percentage. They have yet to score a touchdown in the red zone, and they've only had 4 cracks at it. Like, and I'm going to say this again, too, because I saw him getting a lot of flack after this game. I don't put a ton of this on C.J. Stroud at all. Yeah. I think they have set C.J. Stroud up to fail. Like, I get it, man. People are tired of the not his fault, the shit with Herbert, like whoever, right? We always want to do the quarterback win thing. But I'm telling you, like, people are trying to take C.J. Stroud's rookie of the year away from him. They're trying to say it was a fluke. I don't think it was a fluke. I just think the Texans organization has failed to build this offense out around him.
Yeah.
That's it. I think this offense is going to be one of the worst in the league. I think they are incapable of moving the ball and scoring. And so for that, I'm just out. They're closer. They're far away from them because of the pass rush. But I think they're closer to Tennessee than they are like Indianapolis or Jacksonville, man.
Whoa.
This offense is horrible.
It is, Logan. And that's why, listen, I don't know if anybody shorted the Texans harder than me. I mean, I kept banging the drum. They're going to miss the playoffs. They're going to miss the playoffs. Their offense is going to be bad. Their offensive line is the worst I've ever seen. They can't run the ball. The receiving room is thin, and they just put everything on CJ's shoulders to an unsustainable level. That being said, I mean, I think the Titans are the worst team in football. I think that they are absolutely terrible as a roster. They're certainly in that absolute bottom tier.
Worse than New Orleans.
Texans, well, you know, Logan, let's see. When one of those teams gets a win or like even plays a competitive football game, really. Actually, the Saints have played competitive football games. Not today, but their first couple games.
I would take the Titans over New Orleans.
Okay, well, those are your bottom 2, or they're in your bottom 3, whatever. The Titans really, really suck. The Texans are deeply flawed, But the defense is elite, man. I mean, the defense is still so damn good. It does feel like if CJ plays up to his potential, like I think that the Jags and the Colts are better right now, but I think the Texans are still a fair bit closer to those teams. They're more of like a 7-8 win team than they are. Titans are like a 3-win team or whatever.
I think
but
the Texans might win like 6 games, bruh.
It's not impossible. They have played 3 good teams. I think it's worth noting. Maybe people don't think the Jags are good. That's fine. I'm a Jags optimist. I picked them to win the division before the year. They lost to the Rams in a close game. They lost to the Bucs in a very close game. Their defense keeps them in games. They've allowed 14, 20, and 17, and they've allowed those low scoring totals to very good offenses. The problem is just how terrible their offense has been. And I think that's really what this game says more about, as much as I do like the Jags and I've been in on them and I'd like to make this about them. I just think it says more about how abysmal Houston's offense is.
I agree. And also, dude, for Houston's defense to perform this well and Houston's offense to play so poorly, the fact that they have had an opportunity, you flip 2 plays in 2 games, the one against the Rams and the one in this one, the Ogunbowale fumble in week 1 and then Collins fumble in this one. Even though their offense has been the worst in football through 3 weeks, you flop those 2 plays, this team could be 2-1 if they don't just cough it up at the end of games. Like, they've still been in these games because of that defense. So that is a great point.
I mean, the defense is ridiculous, bro. The pass rush secondary combo, it's damn near unmatched. I mean, Denver is amazing there as well. Green Bay has gotten very good there, but it's super impressive. And CJ is catching a lot of flack. I thought his first pick today was awful. His second pick, I thought, was just more unfortunate. I mean, Josh Hines-Allen gets a pressure, hits him from behind. That ball ends up being a duck. I do put most of CJ's very lackluster production on the situation, though. His offensive line play has gone from bad to worse and is now probably the worst in football. His weapons have gotten worse. He's just got one of the hardest offensive situations to operate in the NFL. Now, the reality is CJ came into the league with a bad offensive line and a bad run game. And he actually was able to lead them to the playoffs and lead them to be a solid offense. And his production has regressed, even though the situation has gotten worse and their offense has regressed. So you have to acknowledge that. I'm not big picture worried about CJ Stroud. Overall, I think we've seen a lot of impressive stuff from him in his first 2 years in the league. Like, obviously, there were more turnovers last year. The production wasn't as sparkling, but nevertheless, the situation sucked. I thought his combination of poise and pretty good creation is impressive. So that's why I'm not like jumping ship on him, but he's not playing like a top 10 quarterback right now. That's the standard he set as a rookie. He hasn't improved as you certainly would have hoped since he had that great rookie year. So I'm definitely underwhelmed, but I would be more inclined to say underwhelmed than like deeply disappointed or deeply concerned with CJ. He had one really bad pick today, but overall, it's just ridiculously difficult to move the football when you can't run it, you can't protect, you live in 3rd and long every single series basically, and you only have one receiver who's actually a playmaker on your team. Like, the Texans offense as a whole is an abomination, let me be clear. And after this year, they're going to have to really figure shit out. I mean, that offensive line needs to be overhauled.
Well, what sucks about this too,
I think you need a new play caller. They already bailed on Bobby Slowick, but I don't think Nick Caley is the guy. Like, I think they need to reset pretty much everything around CJ and Nico. I do still believe that's a good foundation, but it is underwhelming from him individually and really disappointing from the team as a whole.
And you got to pay CJ too, which means that you're going to have to see some guys on that defensive side of the ball exit, or timelines, man. They're vitally important. And it feels like the Texans may have missed a little bit of a window here, man. Like, just the offense just hadn't been up to snuff the past 2 years, and I think it's going to keep them out of the playoffs this year, man. I think I was just wrong on Houston.
It's incredibly difficult for me to see them making the playoffs at this point. Like, it just is. I mean, 0-3 start with an offense that straight up looks like one of the worst in football. And even with CJ playing better, this is what I hammered home last year, dude. They were 24th in points per drive last season. Like, they've always been fighting an uphill battle, and they've just made things harder and harder on themselves. And if CJ isn't human duct tape, everything falls apart. And he hasn't been human duct tape for them. So, yeah, he's got to be better. But you also have to understand he's being put in really difficult situations. But I think this season is cooked for the Texans. I really do. On the flip side for the Jags, you're sitting at 2-1. I mean, you really should be 3-0 if you didn't blow that game last week. They're such an interesting football team, Logan. They occupy a lot of headspace for me because I do identify as Liam Cohen. It's gotten to the point where I'm having dreams about my responsibilities for the Jags as a leader of the football team. I remembered this today. I had forgotten it. Brian Thomas Jr. was in my dream a few nights ago. And I looked at him and I said, BTJ, you got to stop with the contact diversion. You got to believe in yourself, man. You got to go out there, trust you're an elite player, make some plays. This is an actual dream that I had. It didn't translate to the field for BTJ. He had another really bad game. Couple of bad drops, terrible drop on third down, still looked like he was so in his own head, so tentative, so scared of the football, just very shaky hands. But he had the game-winning catch, and that was a massive play. I think that matters a lot for a guy who is just like so clearly in this massive confidence rut right now. You got to feel like him making a play like that is hopefully going to make some positive impact, but he's got to figure that shit out for 4 quarters because he had 9 yards before that catch. So that is super bad from a player of his caliber doing what he did as a rookie. And that's been the trend for all 3 weeks this season. I also look at T-Law, and I just think he's got to cut out 1 to 2 bad decisions per game. His pick was horrible in this game, like into straight double coverage, and it's what lets Houston back in this game. You give them good field position at midfield, bang, they hit on their one explosive play of the game, basically, touchdown very next play, and now you got to go back out there and you got to retake the lead. We see these stretches from T-Law where he looks really good and he can make the throws. There's no question about the arm talent. There's no question about the zip he can put on the ball. And there are drives where the arm talent pops and the poise is really good and he's executing the offense. He's getting the ball where it needs to go. He's making some tight window throws on top of that. And then there's a play a half where you're just like, oh, dear God, Trevor, no, please, Trevor, no, please, Trevor, not again. If it's like a terrible decision, if it's every once in a while, it's just a wildly inaccurate throw. And so that's where, like, if
he's earned it, he's got a little bit of that goofer gene in him, man.
He does, no question. And I think that discourse around him is weird because some people want to say he flat out sucks, and I just don't see that. I see a guy who still has so many good traits, and I also see a guy who can't put it together for 4 quarters, even though now he has this great play caller and offensive mind who's putting him in better positions. But you got to give him credit. I mean, last drive, he was awesome. That scramble on 3rd and 6, huge. He makes the game-winning throw to BTJ. There's just this weird dynamic with the Jags where it's like, I was optimistic about them. I still am. And yet I also feel like they should be better than they are if their marquee position players.
They should be undefeated.
They should be undefeated. And not just that, it should be more convincing. But it's like, Travis Hunter, they're still really struggling to find a role for. BTJ's had all this mental stuff. T-Law has some of these inconsistencies. And I wonder, like, if Liam Cohen might believe in his guys a little too much. And maybe I have the same thing, and maybe we share a mind and I'm infecting him. But, like, would you have gone for it on that 4th and 2 at midfield with the Jags offense
yes,
operating at the level they have been? You would have.
I really like Liam Cohen's level of aggression offensively. And I'm mostly pro-aggression. I like the aggressiveness there.
So I'm super pro-aggression too. I liked him going for it to try to get the knockout touchdown last week. I thought that was the right decision. I kind of had the same thought, though, with Ben Johnson, like in some of the 4th downs he's gone for. I'm like, these guys, I love the aggression. I think generally the numbers favor it. I like it, and I love it when you believe in your offense. And both those guys are coming from situations where you believe in your offense, right? Tampa Bay and Detroit, it's like, okay, those are elite offensive machines. Absolutely be aggressive. But I do look at the new situations and I'm like, yeah, I like the philosophy, but it's just a little shakier. It's just a little less reliable. And it's like, do I have a lot of confidence on them converting a 4th and 2? No, not really. I guess it's probably a good thing, big picture, that Liam Cohen does, and he believes in his guys and he's going to stick to his identity. But even though I've talked about this is the team that had the most untapped potential, and now I think they're tapping into more of their potential, I still feel like there's more potential that they could tap into. And we'll see if that happens. I still think they win the division.
I'm going to take the Colts, but
I know.
I think the Jags can make the playoffs. I think they're going to be on the cusp. I think it's going to be them battling probably with some AFC West teams or something like that. Only thing I wanted to add, offensively, I like what Liam Cohen's doing. They have a rhythm. They have a flow. They have organization and order, and something that was lacking with Doug Peterson. Etienne has looked really good. I really like the punch they've gotten from Bashal Tootin. Maybe more importantly, though, this defense has been really good at turning people over. Carson, through 3 games this year, they have more takeaways already this year than they did all of last season. Like, I think that is huge for this team. Not only could they not get stops, they couldn't get turnovers. So I know a lot of people are going to get caught up with the offense, and obviously you should because that's Liam Cohen's specialty, and they're trying to figure out Trevor, and they've got all these shiny weapons. I think the defense has looked... They haven't looked super consistent, but they've looked a lot better than last year, and I think that's also encouraging, and that can kind of get... it can kind of get lost. Not that the Texans are some world beater. You're super afraid of them, but I thought they had a good game today, and... yeah, that's a huge side of the ball. Like, the Jags were bad there last year. I think they can be better on both sides. So, yeah, I think the Jags are going to be in the playoff conversation, man. They're not a bad team. I don't feel like the Jags are this... They're a bad organization, and this is them trying to shake that. They got to keep rattling wins off. I still feel like they just got this... this stank, man. They got to get the stank off them, Carson.
But Liam Cohen is the kind of guy who does that.
He's doing it. I think he's doing it. I believe in him.
And, like, I do think that I'm probably just holding the Jags to a pretty high standard here, like, because I did have high expectations for them coming into the year. I think Liam Cohen is awesome.
You prepare them for every week. You do the game script. You talk to the guys in the meetings. Right, and then I see T-Law
throw a ball into double coverage, and I'm like, buddy, what the hell? That's not what we planned. But I do think you have to give credit overall for the offensive game planning, the offensive production that they put up, certainly in those first 2 weeks. And defensively, like... If the pass rush plays like this, you understand it's the Texans' offensive line. They're terrible, but they were getting major pressure on Cincinnati in the first half last week, too. They've got talent there, obviously. Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker, Eric Armstead. They've got dudes up front, and they're making an impact. I mean, that's where they win the game on this one, right? Allen gets a huge pressure that forces the pick, and outside of one busted coverage, I thought the defense was locked in this game. So the Texans' offense is bad, but the Jags have a lot of talent. I like them. This wasn't their cleanest game. They couldn't run the ball as well as they did the first couple weeks. I mean, that was a huge improvement that Liam Cohen made for them. So much more effective on the ground. They didn't have that going in this one. They struggled on third down. They got more pressure on T-Law. Like, these were all things that Cohen did such an amazing job of, like, scheming them into such great situations. T-Law wasn't getting pressure. They were getting so many yards on the ground and getting so many yards through screens. They were not able to do that as much in this one. It was a quieter offensive game. They're also going up against an awesome defense, though, and they got an important win in division against the 2-time reigning AFC South champs. So I think overall you feel good about this if you're a Jags fan and you are living in Duval. Let's talk about your Steelers, Logan, and let's see how you're feeling, because before we started recording, you said, I hate watching the Steelers play football. And then I said, imagine watching the Patriots play football today, because guess what, buddy? Pittsburgh still won this game. What did you take away from it?
This is the worst Steelers team I've ever watched.
Wow.
The Steelers...
Look at that. Look at that privilege.
The Steelers play football in the twilight zone, in the bizarro world, in the upside down, in the sunken place. Nothing makes sense. They got outgained by 166 yards. They had 9 less first downs than New England. This really reminded me, obviously not to this extent, a lot of this game reminded me of the Texans-Steelers game from 2002 where the Steelers gained like 350 yards. Texans had like 46 yards, and they end up winning the game like 24-6 or something like that. They allowed, through 3 weeks, this defense has allowed 386 yards per game. They're allowing 260 passing yards per game. That's 6th in the NFL. 8.5 passing yards per attempt, 5th in the NFL. 140 rushing yards per game. That's number 6 in the NFL. Look, they win this football game. I said this after week 1. I'll say it again. This formula is completely unsustainable. They win the turnover differential by 4. They have 5 turnovers forced to their 1, and they win this game by 7 points. It's the most classic Steelers win I can think of. The reason I say it's unsustainable, though, every third down, they are getting scorched over the middle by Drake May. That's 3rd and longs. Every 3rd and short, Mike Vrabel is spamming a play-action rollout where Drake May fakes the handoff and just gets to the corner because he beats TJ Watt's slow old ass. TJ Watt is still our best defensive player, and he's still damn good, but he's just not what he once was. This entire defense is really old, really slow, and they are a big play defense. And I don't like big play defenses. I like consistent defenses that bend, that don't break, that stop you short. This is not that team. If the Steelers defense is not getting a sack, an interception, a forced fumble, or a penalty, they are getting marched on. I have never seen a Steelers defense that has gotten cooked like this. It is like a hot knife through butter. They just move, effortless. And, I mean, we get bailed out in this game. Before the end of the first half, I mean, they march easy. Just easy third down conversions for Drake May. Ramondre Stevenson, 23 yards. Kayshon Boutte over the middle, 20 yards. Hunter Henry, boom, wide open. And then Drake May gifts us an interception in the end zone that swings the game. Like, we just kept getting bailed out. Ramondre Stevenson fumbles multiple times. This just isn't something that you can bank on. The defense is going to get marched on, and we're not going to force 5 turnovers every game. The offense can't protect Rodgers, and he can't move. And we can't run the ball reliably. Like, we're just cooked, man. Also, I want to get on the NFL in New England. Drake May got concussed at the end of that first half, and the NFL didn't pull him into that blue tent, and that's fucked up. That's why he threw that interception. Drake May looked great on that drive, was marching with New England, and then TJ Watt and Nick Herbig dribbled his head off the ground like a basketball, and nobody pulled him for evaluation. That's not me talking as a Steelers fan that wanted to see Jacoby Brissett come in there. That's me as a Drake May fan saying, I need you to take care of the health of your superstar quarterback, because that's the other side of this game. I think the Steelers are chopped. This team fucking sucks. We're not going to make the playoffs. We're going to be under 500. I'm done with the Steelers. We stink. We're not a good football team. We're bottom 10 in the NFL. I really don't care that we're 2-1 right now. Drake May is going to be a superstar. And if Ramondre Stevenson didn't have butter on his hands all game, they would have won this one, and I think pretty easily and pretty convincingly. Drake May is poised. He is accurate. He has got an elite scrambling ability. I just think this guy's a stud. And if his team had pulled their weight today, the offensive guys around him, I think they easily win this football game today. But I am pretty pissed at the NFL for not pulling him, man. He was shook. That's the only reason he threw that pick late in the game, and that's not safe. They need to take care of their players. Yeah, man, I'm happy that we won. This is the oldest roster, I believe, in football. So cool. Yeah. The Steelers piss me off, man.
That is like the most negative spiel ever after a win. I understand where you're coming from, but you guys did win.
5 turnovers, and we have a point differential of 7, man.
You guys have never had a good point differential. Well, not since you guys were like actually really good. Not since the days when you had a great defense and a pretty good offense.
I can buy into that formula for winning games. This is unsustainable, man. Just completely.
Oh, no question. No question. The Patriots were the better team out there today, and they just totally killed themselves with self-inflicted errors. That is the takeaway. I agree. I'm not pushing back. I'm just trying to maybe get you to see the light, Logan. Normally, well, you're not a ray of sunshine about the Steelers, actually. You're pretty realistic, but you at least talk yourself into 10 wins, and they normally find a way there. And maybe this is just a new form of voodoo magic from them. Maybe it's going to be even more bullshit than we've ever seen before. I don't know. But this is a huge bummer if you're a Pats fan, because you moved the ball all day. I mean, 26 first downs, 370 yards of offense, 4 red zone trips, and you wind up with 14 points. I thought Drake May played a really good game. I think his last 2 weeks have been really impressive. I mean, the combination of the physical traits, the creation that he has, the mobility, the arm talent, the accuracy has been really good. The red zone pick was brutal. Other than that, though, I thought he was really quite good in this game. Running backs fumble 3 times, Ramondre twice, including the one on the goal line. I mean, that's so brutal. I've seen a lot of talk about why isn't Travion Henderson getting more touches, more priority when the existing running backs suck. I'd be asking the same question. I think it's a good one to ask. And then even after all of that, Drake May has you driving down the field, and Pop Douglas inexplicably with half a yard to gain from where he caught the football, does not fall forward, embrace contact, and just get the first down, which he would have. He goes backwards, tries to make dudes miss, and gets brought down behind the line of scrimmage. I mean, just such
That's one of them
brutal
Deontay
mental
Johnson.
error.
That's one of them when Deontay Johnson plays, man.
It's the worst thing ever, man. I mean, the receiver who's too obsessed with trying to dance and make somebody miss and going backwards tends to be annoying unless you're really good and you can justify it by gaining extra yards ultimately. There is no reason for it when you have to gain another half a yard from where you caught the football. At that point, man, you just fall forward and you live to see another down. You live to see another series. I thought that was really bad. But overall, the level the Steelers defense has been at is deeply concerning. The extent to which they have gotten marched on by 3 offenses, which are not that good. Seahawks put up a lot of points today, but when we saw them play a good defense in week 1, they were held to 13 points. The Jets, they put up some points today, but like them, the Patriots, these are all at least, we'll say, mediocre offenses. And they've all had pretty damn good days against the Steelers, even though the point total didn't reflect that for the Patriots today. So I understand where your pessimism is coming from because, unfortunately, the level of offensive fun that the Steelers were able to produce in week 1, they haven't been able to replicate since. You see the limitations. The run game was bad today. Rodgers, it is scary when there's pressure.
Bro, I get scared.
Yeah,
I am fearful for him anytime he has to get mobile, man.
Yeah, it's just not really in the bag at this point. And so the Steelers are a very limited football team and ultimately a very mediocre football team. And for the Pats, that's the kind of game you got to take advantage of, man. If you want to make the leap to being a wild card team, to sniff in the playoffs, that's one that you cannot blow. And they totally blew it. This is on them. Speaking of playoff hopes, Logan, we got a 3-0 team out in the NFC West. San Francisco 49ers, they emerged victorious over the Cardinals. Both of these teams were 2-0 coming in. What did you take away from this Niners win? Of course, still with McCorkle under center, not Big Cock Brock Purdy, as they call him. I wouldn't call him that, but that's what they call him.
You know, I came away from this game just more disappointed in the Cardinals than anything else. This felt like one that they needed to finish off and that one that was in their grasps. Mac Jones, I thought, had some really good moments in this one. Finding Pearsall up the right sideline on that 4th and 2, I thought was huge. They also had some costly mistakes. San Francisco did. A defensive pass interference penalty gifts Arizona a ball at the 1-yard line. Trey McBride touchdown. They follow that up with a Mac Jones pick. The Niners defense ultimately holds Arizona short. Next drive, San Francisco has a holding penalty in their own end zone that forces a safety. Then they force Arizona back off. They kick the game-winning field goal. So some of it, it's them coming up short on drives and stuff. But more than anything else, what I remember from this game is just all the drops. Marvin Harrison Jr. drops a wide-open pass in this game. Later in this one, drops a crucial touchdown. DeMercado drops a wide-open pass out in the flat on a 3rd and 6. Zay Jones, at the end of this game on a 3rd and 9 that would almost put this game on ice, drops one. That one was less...
It was at least contested, and
it
DB did a nice job of getting a hand in there to affect that one.
I put that on Zay because it hits his hands, and it just felt like a game of missed opportunities for the Cardinals. And for some reason, a lot of division games are like this. NFC West games always seem to come down like this, especially a weird one with like Mac Jones in on here. That's the only reason I went with the Cardinals, because I said I'm not betting on Mac Jones in back-to-back games. But it did just feel like a missed opportunity, man. And I don't really put a ton of that on Kyler, dude. I thought Kyler put the ball in places where his guys could have made plays and they didn't come up big. I'm pointing the finger mostly at Marvin Harrison for dropping some big ones and then some other guys. Like, you got to come up there, man. And they don't. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure Arizona also lost James Conner for the season in this game. I think he's going to have season-ending surgery. So that's a really big loss. They're going to have to see if somebody can step up in his absence, which, I don't know, man. I think James Conner's pretty imperative to this team's playoff chances, and I think, I don't know, he's really important to this offense, so I think that group may take a hit.
Feels like the Cardinals are very mid. incredibly mid, which actually I think that was my preseason hot take, which is not a hot take at all, but I said they were the most mid team in football. And like, that's exactly how they feel, man. I agree with some of the playmakers letting Kyler down, and yet I am still a little bit frustrated by his inconsistency just at this stage in his career. Drive to drive, game to game, it is still up and down with him. You do feel some of his limitations. And look, man, there's no way for him to get taller. He can't play out there on stilts, but like not being able at times to throw over the middle, not at times being able to get the ball past the defensive line, getting balls batted down. Like he does still have his limitations as a pure pocket passer. Marvin Harrison Jr. has been super underwhelming. I mean, the production through 3 games has been very underwhelming. That was a terrible drop that he had. And even the next chunk play that he actually did make the catch, it seemed like he was again like in his head about footsteps coming. I don't know. He came down with that one, but immediately he didn't just turn and run. He was like focused on like he was still facing the defensive player who was pursuing him. It's just kind of a weird dynamic with him right now. He has been disappointing. This defense is solid, not great. Like this is the kind of swing game for this division potentially, because I don't know that there's a ton of separation between these teams, but I do prefer the Niners. And I do think the Niners deserve credit for being 3-0 with all these injuries. Bosa goes out in this one. Purdy missing the last 2 games. No Kittle the last 2 games. Obviously no Ayuk. We don't know if he's coming back at all or what he'll look like or whatever, but just like a lot of these key names who we associate with the Niners of the last couple years being out. Not to mention some of the offseason losses defensively. And like here they are. They've got 2 division wins. It hasn't been pretty. It hasn't been easy, but they've survived. They've come out on top, and that's where they're sitting in the division right now. I do think if we want to talk about real positives for the Niners, Ricky Pearsall is an absolute stud. ASU's finest. The 4th and 2 grab was massive. I mean, I just think he has phenomenal ball skills. I think he's an explosive play threat. He can separate. Like the guy can really do it all. He's an awesome receiver talent. And look, now they have a kicker. I mean, the Pinheiro support that I was seeing from my friends who are 49ers fans, just compared to the Jake Moody hellscape, like they appreciate a guy who can knock down a routine kick to win a game. And you have to give props to Saleh for turning around this defense, because that's really been the backbone of this 3-0 start. I mean, the offense has been solid, but the defense has been pretty good. And when you consider what the defense was last year, one of the worst groups in football, 30th in points allowed per drive, I think it's a testament to the level of coach that Saleh is, being able to get the most out of this talent. I mean, Fred Warner makes a couple big plays, but there's not a lot of high-level talents on this defense. A lot of those guys have gone out the door in the last couple years, and yet they're doing their job. They're getting stops when they need them. I mean, that was a huge stop after the safety. You're in a game, tie ball game, 3.5 minutes left. You get a safety. Now you're kicking the ball back to them and they've got a 2-point lead. I mean, they get a couple first downs. That's ball game. And instead they immediately contain them on the first 2 downs, force them into a 3rd and long situation where they have to throw it and you make a play. Maybe it wasn't a full on PBU, but you contest the catch, you get a stop, you get off the field. I just think overall, if you look at the Niners right now, why are they 3-0? Biggest reason I would say is coaching. I think Saleh elevating this defensive talent that performed terribly last year, and Shanahan always getting the most out of the offense. Both these guys are squeezing all the juice out of both sides of the ball right now. Kyle Shanahan, we've talked about it so much, but he's the ultimate give him any quarterback and he's going to be able to win you games. And even down a couple of these key playmakers, that remains the case. Mac did have the one bad pick, but he was very solid other than that. And he's just executing the scheme at a solid level. That's what's needed. They can win games with Mac doing that. So they're 3-0. Do I think they're as good as like the Rams? Absolutely not. But they've got a schedule that they can take advantage of. Talked about this a lot early in the year. That was a big reason to be in on a Niners bounce back. They've got one of the weakest schedules in football. And you start 3-0, you've always got a good path to the playoffs. Good path. And they're going to get healthier. I think this is a good start to the year for the 49ers. They're certainly flawed, but they have gotten themselves in a good position early in the season. You know who's in a terrible position? The Cincinnati Bengals, Logan. My God, they lose 48-10 to the Vikings with Carson Wentz at the helm. What did you take away from that?
To be quite frank, not a ton. This was a meltdown from the Cincinnati Bengals of epic proportions.
Yeah.
If it can go wrong, it will go wrong. It was literally just one thing after the other. If it was Jamar Chase fumbling, if it was Samaje Perine fumbling, if it was Jake Browning turning the ball over. Shout out Isaiah Rodgers, man. That is one of the great.
God.
That's one of the great individual defensive performances I think I've ever seen in my life. Like,
insane.
Hall of Fame stuff right there, man.
2 defensive touchdowns, 2 fumbles forced. I mean, the
also,
punch out and the scooping
can't-
score was ridiculous.
I was gonna say he did that all himself, right? Punched
Yeah,
it, got it by himself, took it all the way back.
He punched out. Yes, it was insanity.
Also, I think who was the other guy that did that? Will McDonald in the Bucs game blocked that kick and then also returned it himself. Man, that shit is super impressive.
He's a really tall guy.
To have that kind of football awareness is ridiculous. And I don't know, man. You know, I thought the Bengals offense was going to take a little bit of a hit.
Yeah.
I think that was underselling it a little bit. I did think Carson Wentz looked better. You know, I mean, like he wasn't under a ton of pressure. Like you get up in a big lead like that, like it's, you know, not really a high pressure situation. But I honestly think the Vikings are going to be better with their 2 replacements. Aaron Jones is on IR now. Jordan Mason is a monster. I think he's already better than Aaron Jones. I couldn't believe he wasn't getting more touches last week. I like Aaron Jones. I think they had a good dynamic going on with 1-2, but if I had to pick one right now, I would definitely go with Jordan Mason. And then at quarterback, I don't trust McCarthy at all. It's like Wentz certainly looked better than he did. Like Wentz looked confident in the pocket. They just look better. And it's like, I get that they're beating up on the shorthanded Bengals with a bad defense and they melt down in this one, but I mean, damn, dude, anytime you can 40-piece a team, that'll instill some confidence in you, man. Like I'm certainly more back in on the Vikings, and this defense is genuinely destructive. Like they have got
it is, man.
Fucking Pro Bowl, all-pro talent everywhere, dude.
And they're so aggressive. I mean, they'll just eat you alive if you're not cut out for it. And the Bengals just looked awful. They're just not good. And Browning was awful, terrible. But they were also horrible running the ball. The protection was bad. They're bad defensively all around. Like, this is kind of what we've been saying about the Bengals. This was a 500 team over the last 2 years that didn't get any better this year. Still had all of the same core flaws, which were major. And even if you look at, I mean, the Browns game was really ugly with Burrow. They should have lost that one. The Jags really blew that game. Like, props to Browning for the comeback. But realistically, Cincinnati so easily could have been 0-2 coming into this one, and then it just all fell apart in this one. I don't think Browning sucks. The guy's definitely good for a pick. He's definitely good for a turnover. But we saw the stretch in 2023 where he was productive. The Bengals offense was productive, and they had a winning record with Browning at the helm. 7 games as a starter. They went 4-3. I think he's capable. He played a terrible football game today, but the reality is the Bengals are not going to be a playoff caliber team without Joe Burrow, because I am not at all sure they would have been that with Joe Burrow. I thought they were going to miss the playoffs with their superstar quarterback. Now you go to their backup, and even though I think he'll play better going forward, it's just a deeply flawed football team, poorly built, so dependent on their few superstar players being on the field, and you lose any of those guys, I mean, especially your quarterback, and the formula is just fucked. So RIP to the Bengals season. For the Vikings, I'll just say this makes me feel very good about keeping them in my top 10 in the contender rankings. This makes me feel good about betting on old Wency boy, betting on the old vet compared to JJ, just because I think so highly of KOC. I think so highly of the coaching overall for this team. We know the defense is absurd, and there's a lot of good pieces offensively, especially when Jordan Addison gets back out there. I mean, Jettis is obviously a ridiculous talent. Like, there's so much here that should elevate the quarterback in this situation. And you see what they look like with solid quarterback play. Again, the defense did a lot of the heavy lifting in this one, but Wentz was efficient. They ran the ball really well too. And if you have a guy who can just stay poised in the pocket, make the necessary throws, make the necessary reads, and not like fall apart, which I think Carson Wentz for the most part can do in this Minnesota offense, they're really good. They're definitely a playoff caliber team because the defense is absolutely dominant. And Isaiah Rodgers is the GOAT. What an incredible game he played. We're kind of in the blowout section here, Logan. This morning slate, I mean, there was a lot of bad games, so we can kind of breeze through these. Raiders, Commanders. big blowout win for Washington without Jaden Daniels. What did you take away from this?
I'm going to keep it a stack, man. I took the Commanders in our game picks because I forgot that Jaden Daniels was hurt.
Wow. Well,
I do not
nailed it anyways.
I lucked out. I think this said a lot about the Raiders defense, man. And I'm a Commanders advocate. I'm a Commanders supporter. One of the biggest reasons why I banked on Washington this year was I really like their offensive line. I really like their run game. I think against 85% of teams in the NFL, they can really establish their will and push you around and dominate in the trenches and really get that running game going. And I thought that's what they did in this one. Everybody was getting touches. If it was Bill, if it was Rodriguez, if it was McNichols breaks off that big rush for a touchdown, but everybody was kind of eating. And I was really impressed with this defensive line, too. Those are the two areas where I continue to be impressed with the Commanders, where Armstrong was getting in the backfield. That's where I'm encouraged. You tell me Marcus Mariota is going to lead a team out to put up 40 points in the Big 2025, I would have told you were smoking crack, man. But
yeah,
I stand corrected. I think this kind of just proves that the Commanders are going to be close to playoff contention. I think they can stay afloat maybe with Mariota, and then I think the Raiders just are kind of closer to bottom dwellers, man. I just don't think this defense is serious. I thought Geno played a really good game, man. Like, I don't know what else they wanted the boy Geno to do, but I don't know, play defense, go suit up out there at linebacker, man. Like, I just think this is kind of an imbalanced team. I think the Raiders could have a fringe top 10 offense, but this is going to be a bottom 10 defense. It's a dumpster fire on defense for the Raiders.
Geno got his numbers, but a lot of that came in the fourth quarter. Shout out to Trey Tucker because they connected on a couple explosives down the stretch, but the game was over, essentially. They did struggle to move the ball early. I don't put it so much on Geno. I'm just disappointed in the Raiders. That offensive line looks bad, man. I thought the offensive line could be fine. The offensive line looks really bad. I mean, you let up 4 sacks to the Patriots in week 1, and you think, oh, maybe that defensive front is a little bit better than we expected. And then you really struggle to protect again last week against the Chargers. And now you take 5 sacks in this one. And like, one of the things that we praise about Geno is he's one of those guys with a really good pressure to sack rate, right? He's somebody who can mitigate that pressure and succeed in spite of it and not take those negative plays. They're just getting to him. I mean, they're getting so much pressure. Opposing defensive fronts are living in the backfield, and then the run game's just been bad. Gentry's averaging 3 yards per carry and 48 yards per game 3 games into the season. What a disappointment for such a premier skill position talent who they invested so much in. So that's a big problem. And then the run defense today was abysmal. They didn't get pressure. The Raiders defense looked terrible. So I don't know. This is a team I thought would be scrappy, had a playoff chance. I had them winning 8 games, but my Geno optimism made me think they could be dangerous to do a little bit more. They just do not look like a good football team right now. That's what it comes down to. And when you get your asses handed to you by the Marcus Mariota-led Commanders, and they're getting whatever they want on the ground all day, that's very concerning to me. And it's just back-to-back bad performances from Vegas. So we'll see if they can bounce back. They've got the Bears, Colts-Titans these next 3 weeks. That's a big 3-game stretch. You got to get 2 of those, it feels like,
100%.
For the season to still be really alive and well. We'll see what they do with their backs against the wall. This was the craziest result of the day to me, man. The Panthers beat the Falcons 30-0 today. Well, what did you take away from this?
I'm going to focus on Atlanta's side because I honestly didn't take a lot away from this from Carolina. Like, I agree. I thought Carolina, for the most part, just kind of steered the ship. Yeah. Like, the Falcons got it in cruise control, and then Carolina said, all right, I'm going to just take over from here. Atlanta had 3 turnovers and 2 missed field goals. The pick 6 that Penix Jr. throws, look, I'm a big Michael Penix guy. This is a horrible game from him. Mm-hmm. The pick 6 he throws is a gift to Smith Wade. He gets through all of his progressions first and then checks it down to the swing route to Robinson. Smith-Wade just reads Penix Jr. like a book. The throw is way too late. He is sitting on that flat, waiting for him to get to Robinson. And that's one of the things I like about Penix, is that Penix is going to use his checkdowns. And when there's not an open guy over the middle of the field, he's not going to do too much. And I like that in a quarterback. A guy that's not always going to try to force the ball downfield. Don't get me wrong. I like a gunslinger. I like even more when you can strike that balance. They read him, and he checks that ball down. You just can't throw that. I mean, that is a gift of a pick six. The interception on 4th and 8, I didn't mind as much. Ray McLeod falls down. That being said, I think it was going to be an interception either way. That was a great break on the ball by Mike Jackson, and I thought Penix Jr. kind of underthrew that one anyway, even though McLeod falls down. Like, that was not a really high-velocity throw, and the guy jumped the route excellently. Outside of the throw, I thought he just made the wrong read. If you go back and look on that play, I know it's a 4th and 8, and maybe if he throws it to Pitts over the middle and he doesn't get the first down, maybe I'm being critical that he didn't throw beyond the sticks. Kyle Pitts is open over the middle of the field, and it looks like he can get an extra 4 or 5 yards after that catch and get the first down. So it's a bad throw. It's a worse decision. Mm-hmm. And then Parker Romo misses 49 and 55-yard field goals. I know Atlanta has to be tired of going through kicker after kicker that just cannot get it done. Younghoe Koo, statistically, overall, may have been good. Last year in the clutch, too, Koo was not good either. You know, he's bad at the start of this year, too. They just can't get right, man. It's reaching Niners levels of bad kicking. The Falcons in this game outgained the Panthers in total passing and rushing yards. They have more first downs. They're more efficient on 3rd down. They're less penalized, and yet they lose this one 30-0. It was just, to me, a classic quicksand game, man. They got down early, late in this game. They're trying to claw their way back out. They end up digging that bigger hole, and I don't know what to make of Atlanta, man. They could have won either or both of their first 2 football games, and I thought Penix Jr. looked pretty good. He looked bad in this one. Bad turnovers, inaccurate, bad on 3rd down, poor decision-making, and situational awareness. He's targeting smothered receivers. He's throwing beyond the sticks when there are guys that are open underneath. And also, I'd like to see Penix use his legs more often. I thought he got under duress in moments in this game and didn't scramble enough. So, I don't know, man. I'm not going to sell all of my Penix stock here right now, but I think he had some bad games last year. I think this is the worst game I've seen from him. He didn't look comfortable today, and he didn't look like he was, what's the word, man? He was just kind of doing things. He wasn't, like, engaged fully. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, he didn't feel in control.
He's out there doing shit.
He didn't feel in control of this game. Drake May against the Steelers, they lose by 7. Drake May had the Steelers by the balls. Mm-hmm. Michael Penix didn't feel like he had the Panthers at all in this one.
No, he definitely did not. They had his balls. This was an insane game, man. Just horrible, so stunning, so weird. The Panthers are the 5th team since the merger, Logan, to win a game by 30 or more with 225 yards of offense or fewer. And I agree with you. I think this says way more about Atlanta and is way more concerning for them. I thought coming into this, they were like the 15th best team in the NFL. I thought they'd been very solid through their first 2 weeks. This was an F performance. The Penix pick 6 was horrific. Obviously, it's hard sometimes not to have the pendulum swing a little too far with these, I was going to say super young. Penix is not super young, but quarterbacks who have so few starts under their belt, right? Because the sample size is so small, every game feels bigger comparatively. And I've mostly liked what we've seen from Penix. This was terrible, though. I mean, normally I do think that he's poised and just melted down in this one. I don't know. Maybe this is the price that you pay for cutting Younghoe Koo, Logan. Maybe that is it. That being said, I agree. I mean, he had good years. He had been really bad for the last year and change, but Parker Romo was also terrible. So it's just a complete disaster. I would like for our buddy Matthew Spawnhour to be able to say that this has sparked some sort of Panthers optimism in me. I just can't get there. I mean, they were manhandled by the Jags. They were manhandled for a half by the Cardinals. I still think they're one of the worst teams in football, and they didn't even move the ball in this game. Like, the Falcons just handed it to them. It was terrible. How about your darling boy, Baker Mayfield, Logan? He can't stop doing it. He is at this point clutch farming All he wants to do is lead game-winning drives. He will sabotage their kicker to have the kick blocked and return for a touchdown just so he can lead a game-winning drive. What did you take away from them narrowly beating the Jets?
That's exactly what I said when they blocked the kick. You have put Baker Mayfield exactly where he wants you.
He's so aroused in that situation.
Carson, Baker Mayfield has now led his 4th consecutive regular season game-winning drive. I know everybody's getting caught up in the fact that he's done it back-to-back-to-back weeks now. First of all, no quarterback in NFL history has ever led back-to-back-to-back game-winning drives in the first 3 seasons. First 3 games, yeah. And he's now done it 4 consecutive weeks, so he's the only quarterback, if we extend it to last season, Week 18 versus the Saints, it is the longest regular season streak of game-winning drives by a quarterback in NFL history, and the Buccaneers become the first team in the Super Bowl era with 3 wins in the final minute of the 4th quarter in the first 3 weeks of a season. Just super clutch stuff. I thought for the most part, the Buccaneers dominated this game. Like the Jets make it close at the end. Obviously, the McLaughlin field goal is going to put this game on ice if he just makes it. A huge swing play there from Will McDonald. Single-handedly blocks it, brings it back himself. But I really liked what we saw from the Bucs early on in this game. The run defense I thought was really stout. They're really good there. And the star of the show to me, outside of Baker Mayfield doing his normal heroics, was Emeka Egbuka.
Yeah, dude.
I have another gripe with the NFL. Not only because you guys didn't take Drake May to the concussion tent, Egbuka caught that ball, and I'm standing on that. That catch at the end of the game, that was a catch. He brings in control right as that toe is dragging, and then he drags the other one. Bro, Egbuka's going to be a superstar. That guy has got so many special qualities about him, but that kind of body control and awareness, dude, it made me feel tingly like I was watching Antonio Brown again. That is one of the hardest things to do in football, that kind of catch. He is just a master of his craft, man. I am so jealous of the Buccaneers offense, man. To have Bucky Irving and Rashad White and Mike Evans and Egbuka and this offensive line and Baker Mayfield, they're so loaded. To me, the star for Tampa Bay, though, through the first 3 weeks of this season, the guy has been Egbuka, man. He has been putting on performance after performance, crazy catch after crazy catch. And I stand on it, man. I thought he caught that one today, and I wish they had given it to him. It was a nasty grab.
That was really close. He does have an ability to make some of these sick catches. And like every year now, we're getting a stud rookie receiver, if not multiple. I mean, last year we had a Malik and Brian Thomas Jr., right? 2 years ago, we have Puka setting the rookie record. Like it just happens every year. And it feels like Egbuka is going to be that guy. Ted McMillan is very good. He's been very productive. But man, and the clutch factor too, man, like being these go-to guy on some of these huge drives, obviously week 1 and again in this one, he's a big time playmaker. And I think that's maybe the most significant thing that we've seen from the Bucs so far, but they continue to win despite injuries to the offense. They're 3-0, man. They're winning these clutch games. And I think they have the potential to win these games more convincingly. There's not much to take away for the Jets, in my opinion, from a Tyrod Taylor led game. Like that's just what it is. The Jets are going to win, 4 to 6 games this year. Breaking news. That's what happens every year. Colts-Titans, Logan. The Colts keep marching on. They're 3-0. What'd you take away from Indiana Jones and the boys? Indiana Jones and the quest for the winning season, I think one of the announcers called it today. That's his journey.
We can come up with something better than that.
I agree. First of all, my note immediately was, why are we going winning season and not playoffs? I mean, can't we dream a little bigger? Almost half the league makes the playoffs. We can't even dream that.
Traumatized.
It's 9 wins and you just miss out.
Yeah, they're traumatized in the Steichen era by Anthony Richardson and Gardner Minshew.
They are winning 9 or 8 games every year so far in the Steichen era.
True.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones looks fucking sweet, man. Dude, today, I never thought I'd be saying this. I'm just kind of all in on the Daniel. Dude, Daniel Jones had me in my living room today. Bro, I was hitting a Hulk Hogan flex, man. Daniel Jones had me fired up. Okay. He had me hitting a... Who else flexes like that, man? He had me hitting an Arnold flex on him, dude.
Okay, nice. Good response.
He-Man, Hercules, I don't know. I was fired up watching Daniel Jones today, man. And one, I think this speaks to two things. Actually, I think it speaks to a couple. I guess Giants players just all look better when they leave the when they leave that team. Daniel with the Colts, Saquon with the Eagles. Two, Anthony Richardson is hot ass, has to be. And three, Shane Steichen, I guess, just needs a competent quarterback to run his offense, man. Like, I really like what this offense has got going on. Jonathan Taylor in the backfield, and Tyler Warren is the fucking man. I don't know. I wish the Steelers had one of him. One, because he's just a damn good tight end, but two, the fact that they line him up at fullback so often and he is routinely hitting big-time blocks that blow shit up. I love a good blocking tight end, man. I love Heath Miller. Cade Otton fires me up, and Tyler Warren gets me going, man. He's a great receiver, but he's also a great blocker. He had another one that blew up, that big Jonathan Taylor run. I like what the Colts have going on, man. I think they're going to win the AFC South. They don't have that difficult of a schedule either. Like, I really like what the Colts are cooking up, man. I'm all in on Indianapolis and Indiana Jones.
Look, man, they deserve an apology from me. I undersold them coming into the year. I think even after week 1, I was probably hitting the brakes too hard because I kind of scoffed at the idea that they could win the division. I said, I think they'll be better than we gave them credit for. I think they'll be solid, but they can. I mean, there's just no question. The Jags haven't looked impressive enough. The Texans, we've talked about, super flawed for me to be like, yeah, the Colts can't win this division. I'm still riding with the Jags because Duval till I die. But the Colts are going to be a very solid football team this year. Now, some people maybe are getting a little too excited on the buzzsaw juggernaut thing, which, like, yes, the first 2 weeks were very impressive. And this week was impressive too, but they are playing the Titans, who I think are absolutely horrible. But there's no question that, like, Daniel Jones is controlling the game at a level we've never seen. His poise, his ability to still deliver under pressure, his decision-making, his accuracy, like, everything is the best that it's been. Shout out Steichen for that. Shout out Danny Dimes for that. They beat up on a terrible team. And, like, you can say, okay, well, that's what you do to terrible teams, but that's what good teams do to terrible teams, Logan. That's not what bad teams do to terrible teams. And sometimes even good teams don't beat up on terrible teams. And the Colts have set a pretty high bar for themselves through 3 weeks. We'll see. Is the bottom going to fall out with Danny Dimes? I don't think it's going to fall out. I don't think it's going to be this good as it has been the last 3 weeks. I mean, maybe that's obvious. I think he's going to probably give you pretty average starting quarterback production overall this year, but that's better than I would have expected for sure. I'm excited to see how they hold up against the Rams because I think that line is really good. Now you're going to face a ferocious pass rush. Can you hang against a team that's going to put up some points? Like, they won the Broncos game, obviously, but that required some special teams magic and a call at the end. They have beat up on a couple of bad teams, but you can't not be impressed by the Colts up to this point. The Seahawks also beat up on a bad team, Logan. They destroyed the Saints. This game was 35-3, if I remember correctly. Any takeaways?
Dude, I didn't watch a second of this game.
Yeah, who's got time for it?
Kellen Moore looks like a somebody's toddler coaching a football team.
He does have certain toddler qualities, doesn't he? Yeah, I also don't really have anything to say about this, except for shout out to the Seahawks for being 2-1. I mean, the NFC West, they've come out the gate strong, Logan. 3-0, 2-1, 2-1. 2-1. The Saints are truly terrible, though. There's no denying that.
Oh, so dude, you're not buying the Spencer Rattler hype?
Logan, I need Spencer Rattler to succeed because he's my quarterback.
I actually forgot about that.
But it doesn't matter to me. If you go down 35-3, it doesn't matter as long as you get your 218 yards and a touchdown, which isn't good. But as long as he keeps his starting job, Tyler Shuck getting in the game, even though it was absolute garbage time, that put fear into my soul, Logan, because I can't have that happening. If Tyler Shuck becomes the starter for the Saints, I don't have a quarterback for the season. I mean, this is the risk that we all are subjected to in the 32-team league, and I'd really rather not.
If Joe Flacco, I do
believe in Spencer Rattler because I don't have a choice.
If Joe Flacco gets benched for Dylan Gabriel, I'm cooked.
Do you have the Shador handcuff though?
I have Shador.
It's a tricky spot to be in.
I goofed. I should have taken Dylan Gabriel.
I don't blame you, buddy, and I would never blame you. And I would have done the same thing. I would have taken Shador because aura matters. We've covered every game. Let's get to some super chats. We've got some very nice ones. Max says, Carson, so sorry for your loss. Love from the UK. Thank you, Max. I really appreciate that. Brennan Baker gives us a donation. Very, very nice. Christopher, massive, generous donation to the Nerd Sesh Foundation. Y'all are the best. The Nerd Sesh Faithful appreciate you. We appreciate you guys very much. Thank you so much for all of your support. Landon, we love you, Carson. Thank you, Landon. I love you guys too. Kaylee, love you guys. Thank you for continuing to do what you do. You bring so much joy. Also, can we talk about the GOAT Isaiah Rodgers? Absolutely, we can. And we have, and we can again. Because ridiculous, dude. I heard them say on the broadcast, it's the first ever 99.9 PFF grade. Well deserved. If you swing more than 14 points as one defensive player, you can't do more than that.
I mean, there's so many performances that we would probably have to scrub through to figure out who it is. But like legitimately one of the most impressive defensive performances I can ever remember. Like no bullshit. Like Derek Thomas is, what was it, 6-7 sack game? I didn't even do that on purpose. That wasn't even on purpose.
Bro, the record is 7.
That's on me.
But no, to be fair, I mean, my Will McDonald was vicious, the 6'7" Harmon, because I think he's actually listed at 6'4".
The Derek Thomas game, but like legitimately, like you can pick out any game by a defensive player in NFL history, and that rivals it. I mean, that's no one ever done it before. That's crazy, dude.
It is crazy. It is crazy. I mean, there's definitely games where like just such a ridiculous pass rusher has dominated their matchup more on a play-to-play basis. But even that, man, even if you're getting 10 pressures, is that as impactful as literally swinging 14 points and more? Because
we're like,
I don't know, man.
I'm trying to think like D'Angelo Hall's 4-pick games, but he doesn't take any back it's crazy, man. Like this it's a historic performance.
There's probably a Lester Hayes game where he had 7 picks and 3 pick sixes that we aren't acknowledging, or a Paul Krause game, or a Dick Night Train Lane kind of game. Those guys used to just get picks for breakfast, man. Oh, the quarterbacks were so generous back then. They've gotten so stingy, Logan, and it's not fair to the defensive players. Andrew, you guys are GOAT content creators. Thank you for all you do. You've helped me improve my love and knowledge of NBA and NFL, and have helped me through countless situations, sending the best to Carson. Thank you, Andrew. We are so happy to hear that. That is what we hope to do with everybody. Bring a little joy, bring a little ball knowledge, find that balance, just enough edging, just enough analytics, and very glad to hear that. We appreciate it. Yaya says, you guys told me to leave the Bears last week. Now, I know much hasn't changed. Do you think it can be saved? If not, what teams would you guys recommend? I want to be a fan of the Bills, but scared he will fall off soon. No. Josh Allen is never falling off. Not as long as I'm around. I just won't allow it to happen. Your thoughts, Logan?
I think you should ride with your squad and be loyal. So if you were rocking with the Bears,
I think this is a new sports fan who's basically picking out of a hat. And we said,
don't pick the Browns, don't pick the Jaguars. I probably wouldn't pick the Bears for your sanity's sake. I mean, I could say the same thing about the Bills too. Honestly, it's not going to be.
Hey, would you watch it?
It's just gut wrenching. It is.
Yeah. My life is hell. Yeah, but we get really close.
You do.
We get
if you want to get your hopes up, be a Bills fan for sure.
Come to the Bills. Josh Allen is not falling off, and I'll tell you why. He doesn't subject himself to as many hits as you would think given his play style, because the guy never gets sacked. Okay, he's a god at evading pressure, and he's got a bunch of beautiful, beefy boys up front protecting him. So he takes the fewest sacks of anybody in football. The ball is getting out of his hands quicker and quicker. There's less of a burden on him to do crazy superhero stuff every series, every week. So there's a little bit less of a physical toll. And I mean, athletically, he's still at his peak now. He's got a lot of good years left.
Everybody's always talking about Josh Allen this, Josh Allen that. When we talk about Deion Dawkins.
Yeah, the snowman is the man. But here's the thing, man. I think even once Josh loses a little bit of speed, he's still going to be a monster because he's so damn good just as a processor of the game. His arm talent is still so ridiculous. Absolutely, his creation is A++. But even if he loses 20% of that, he's still going to be one of the best in football in terms of moving around, evading pressure, extending plays, doing all that crazy shit that he does. Josh is the GOAT, and you should be all in on him and never, ever, ever, ever please mention again any potential fall off, or we will have to have Jarvis mute your ability to comment. But we very much appreciate your donation. And maybe you can stick it out with the Bears. I mean, if I were picking from scratch, I wouldn't do it to myself, but I do like Caleb and Ben Johnson. And so if you've made the decision, I think you can justify sticking with it. Truth Bearer, has there ever been a weaker QB1 of a conference than whoever's QB1 of NFC right now? I think QB1 in the NFC is Matt Stafford.
That is a really good question. And if I had to point to an era, I would probably say the early 2000s, the mid 2000s. And I would say QB1 was probably Donovan McNabb or Brett Favre. And that
Brett Favre not at his best at that point.
Exactly. That off the top of my head is probably the low point because, you have Kurt Warner's little lull where he's not the top dog in the NFC. That off the top of my head is probably my pick, like the mid 2000s with McNabb and Favre, but I'm going to think on that for a sec.
Yeah, that's a good shout. I mean, I feel like once you get to like that 04, 05, 06 range, Favre has some rough seasons in there.
Well, and then you actually, eventually you get to like 08 and then it's Breeze and there's not a gap, so it would have to be before like pre-08.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back if there was like a year where Dan Pastorini was the best in the AFC. Just not coming to the top of my head. If you just think about the top 5 quarterbacks in football being in one conference, it's got to be extremely rare that has happened. And that's what's happening right now. And I think it's pretty clear that the 5 best quarterbacks are in the AFC. So I love Matt Stafford. I think he's really good. But if you're holding him up to that bar, just relative to competition, yeah, I mean, it's probably right now. But that was a good shout from you. Because think about it. I mean, the best guys at that time, Peyton, Brady, Ben, all AFC. That's your Rivers. I mean, is better than that version of Favre, loath as you may be to admit it.
Yeah, and I'm trying to, even when I go back to like
Breeze in San Diego until what, 06, that's when Rivers takes over.
Maybe I'm looking in the wrong time frame because but even then, I mean, you have one-offs every year. I was thinking about the 80s, because you do have like Marino and Elway in them, but NFC's top dog is still really damn good. If it's Montana, if it's Randall Cunningham, if it's Steve Young, if it's Actually, I thought of a new one. What about like the 90s? Yeah. Is anybody forgetting like would it have been just Aikman as a default?
Well, which part of the 90s are we talking about? In the NFC? You got Stevie Young, buddy. You got the GOAT.
Oh, yeah. That's a great point.
Yeah.
No, I think that's right. You have to think about a guy who is like, when I think about McNabb is like the greatest quarterback who is just like Hall of very good. And that's the range I'm looking for. We're like, he's not a Hall of Fame guy, still a really good quarterback, but that's enough to where he would stick out. He would be my choice probably.
Who was it? I lost my ability to hear you for a second, and I knew you were saying great stuff.
Just McNabb. I think McNabb would be my pick. Like if I had to pinpoint a certain year, I would say 03 to 06, and I would say either McNabb or Favre, whoever you want to go with.
Logan, I think you're right, and I think it's an excellent choice. Kaylee, one more generous donation. Penix 0-4 when opponents score over 7.
I'm devastated.
I mean, well, he lost that shootout to the Panthers last year, right? They put up like 38 or something. He played well in that game. They did still lose. But that is kind of a crazy stat. I don't know. I think Penix is okay, but that's a good stat. Thank you for sharing that, Kaylee. John Sanchez says, sending joy and good energy to you and fam, Car Sexy. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. Looks like that's it for our super chats. So if you guys don't mind, I will say something real quick about my mom. Just because I figure if I have an audience hostage here, I might as well take a couple minutes just to remember such a genuinely remarkable person who did everything that she could to make my life as beautiful and as full as it could be. She was a big fan of the show, so I think she'd appreciate a little love, maybe be a little starstruck by the shout out. But obviously, as I mentioned earlier, as a lot of you guys have seen, a lot of you guys have mentioned very nicely in the chat, my mom passed away very early Friday morning, and she was a really incredible person. And down to the very last interaction I had with her, she was overflowing with love and generosity. And she really always celebrated any good in my life with this incredible enthusiasm. And it didn't matter how small the victory was, what her circumstances were, like literally the day before she passed away. I got a new apartment. Not a big deal. Anybody can do it. Responded like, Yahoo! Congratulations. Very liberal use of the exclamation points. But she was so positive and so supportive that like it could almost seem a little over the top. It could almost seem a little bit caricaturish at times, but it's so incredible because it was totally authentic and it was so consistent and it always seemed effortless and it was natural for her to care so deeply about other people and to live so selflessly. And she was really one of a kind in that way. And she was so committed to making sure that I lived the happiest life possible and the best life possible. And she was so incredibly loving. And it was so ubiquitous in all the little things. Like every time that she would send me anything, it could be like a document I needed for the DMV, and she'd attach a sticky note that would say, "We love you," right? Just something to make me feel loved and valued and close in that way. And even though she was so invested in my life in all these ways, I never felt pressure from her in any way. Like she just genuinely had such unconditional love for me. That's what I always felt. And she always wanted me to do whatever I wanted to do. She was a mega Nerd Sesh fan, mega supporter, Logan. Our numbers are going to drop in her absence. I'm not going to lie, because she would watch our videos on repeat. I would sit with her and I would listen to her watch the same TikTok 3 to 4 times just so she could read every single comment. So all of your perverse comments, she saw them. She asked me about some of them just so everybody knows. But she was so supportive with my languages, like doing whatever she could to help me do what I value, do what I wanted to do. And she embraced every person who mattered in my life so fully. She smiled through whatever ridiculous bits I would put her through. And that was pretty much nonstop for 2 decades, pretty much endless, ridiculous bits from me. And she just loved me completely for who I am. And I really can't overstate how lucky I am to have had that. And she was always there for me. She was willing to drop anything, to do anything. And I genuinely mean that. And she never burdened me with anything. Like it was just such a selfless, incredible relationship. All the credit goes to her for that. It was independent of whatever I did. I didn't always deserve certainly to be treated with that level of generosity and love. And that's what she always gave me. And I honestly can't even fathom how it's possible to be that purely kind and that endlessly compassionate and that giving. And not just with me, with everyone in her life. That's how my mom always was. And I think it's pretty incredible to see that just interacting with people now, people who knew her well, and the consistency with which she was so incredibly giving in all those ways. And her positivity never wavered. Her love never ran out. There was never a moment or a conversation or a life that she was involved in that she did not shine on. And it was the greatest privilege of my life to have been raised by her. So thank you to my mom. I will miss her endlessly. And hopefully she appreciates the Nerd Sesh shout out. She was an active viewer, a commenter. So that's that. Appreciate all you guys tuning in. Appreciate all you guys listening. Truly can't say it enough. Thank you so much for allowing us to do this. We love it so much. A lot of people have been like, take as long a break as you need or whatever, but I just want to be back to doing this. This gives me joy and this gives me something to look forward to, and you guys make that possible. So thank you so much. Logan, it looked like maybe you wanted to say something, but I certainly don't want to make you say anything.
No, I was just going to say, Carson, we love you. We love Maria, and we love the audience too. And your mom was one of the kindest people I've ever met. She had a radiant smile. She had a glow about her, and she gave an amazing hug, man. Your mom is wonderful, and
Thank you,
I love her, man. And I love you,
Thank
Carson.
You, man. Love you too, buddy. Love you too. Love all you guys. And we got NBA coming up now, don't we, Logan? We got NBA season preview content starting this very week. So stay tuned in for that. Stay tuned in for all of our NFL stuff. We'll keep it coming. We promise you that. We will keep you guys entertained as best we can, entertained and informed. We like to do both if we can. So appreciate you guys so much. And with that, as always, I've been Carson Braber.
I've been Logan Camden.
And this was Nerd Sesh.